We're on.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to All Politics Are Local, America's #1 political hip hop talk
Number
show.
one.
Today is Friday, December 27th.
Yes, it is.
My name is Rafiza Shahabuddin, and it's our
Yes, it
last show for the
is.
2024 year. Welcome, everyone.
Yes,
Tonight we have an amazing show. At 6 p.m., we have The Disciples, 90 minutes end of the year show with Newark Councilwoman Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree, Minister Haqq Muhammad, and First Lady Balena Ali as they give both spiritual and community messages for the end of the year. At 7:30, we have the upcoming Criminal Justice Summit with the Latino Action Network. At 8 p.m., we have a Black journalist look back on 2024.
Well, actually, that's not going to happen. I sent y'all a modification of that.
And at 8:30, we have DJ Rhino and the State of Hip Hop as they look back on the hip hop in 2024 featuring Hakim Green.
Yeah, we
So
got to
welcome
make
again, everyone.
and welcome and thank you for setting us off, Miss Rafisa. We appreciate that. Some modifications. We're not going to have the journalist roundtable with some communication issues compromised that particular conversation. It would have been a great conversation. We had some folks who are really willing to dive in and give us a good analysis through their trade on how that was going to go. So that's not actually going to happen. But and we're going to add to more Davis to the 8:15 segment, right? That was supposed to feature DJ Rhino. DJ Rhino is not going to be with us. He's got a public engagement, right? That's going to require him to not be with us. So some modest modifications, but we're still going to try and get it in. Rafiz, everybody doesn't know you. Our aces behind the scenes. I want you to take a few minutes just to tell everybody who Rafisa is, right? And I'm glad you're here. We all appreciate you, and we want to welcome you properly and bring you into this conversation. We've been joined by the great lady Balena Ali, First Lady, our beloved First Lady, New Psalmist Worship Center, right? And
Yeah.
Dima, I didn't know you was coming on. The great Lawrence Ham has joined us too. So we're gonna have an incredible conversation when the rest of our players get in. But Rafis, I want you to take a minute or two and let folks know who you are.
Yes.
So good evening again, everyone. So I am a Newark Board of Education high school teacher here in the great city of Newark. I'm also a resident. I was here. I was born in South America. Moved to Newark at the age of 4. Went to elementary school.
Stop. Born where?
I was born in Guyana, South America.
Guyana. Okay. All right. Go ahead. I had a conversation with someone a little while ago about the late. It was Dean. You and I were talking to Dean. I think we were talking about the late great Walter Rodney yesterday. Right, Walter Rodney is from Guyana. Walter Rodney, best known for how Europe underdeveloped Africa and other powerful tomes of Black radical scholarship. Right. I can go to a long about Guyana's recent history and how that's important to the global Black community in terms of modern Pan-Africanism. But I wanted to just put a button in that because where we come from matters too, right?
Absolutely.
But go ahead, introduction.
So I graduated from Science High School, Rutgers, Newark, and then I became a teacher in the great city, and I've loved it ever since.
How long you been teaching?
So this is year 22. So
wow,
yeah.
Wow.
Comprehensive education. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. My face is very modest now. Now for our Dad and the Wolf supporters, remember Rafisa, we did a round table on some Caribbean happenings that the city was sponsoring, some time ago. That's when you were actually not behind the scenes, but you were actually a guest on the air with us at the time, right? But it's good. I mentioned to our leadership here that Rafisa can be a lot more than behind the scenes. She does a lot to contribute. She's been on here with us before, and whenever she wants to jump in, she should just go ahead and jump in and be a part of our conversation. So I'm glad you're here, daughter. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, working in our school system, right? Tough work, right? But gratifying work when you really care about our kids and care about our community.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that, right? Redeemer, what's up?
Good to be here. Good to be here. Jonathan told me to come on.
He just told you to come on here. He ain't give you no context, no background. No...
Well, he said I should come on and talk about the march.
Okay, all right.
And I guess I'm supposed to wait till the other folks get here.
Not necessarily, because what this is the disciples. This is our clergy segment, right? We're going to be joined in a minute or so, or whenever they get on. They got 90 minutes. They got an extended blast today, right? The disciples is Haqq Muhammad, our young man from Mosque 25 of the Nation of Islam. Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree, who's also our councilwoman. And it is Lady Balena Ali, and had been her husband, who we lost just a minute ago. She's trying to call me right now. So y'all, Balena, jump on in here and talk. All right, let me get Rountree, see what she's talking about.
Good evening. How y'all doing?
All right.
So as y'all know, February 20th, I lost my husband, and they offered me the seat. I think it was March. Around about March, they offered me the seat to sit in his seat. And all I can say is that this has been a very, very strange year for me. 2024, I keep saying, has not been good to me, but God's been great to me. 2024 has definitely opened up my eyes to a lot of things that I believe my eyes were shut to. And I thank God for the disciples. I thank God for this show. Our church is going to be moving from 401 Avon Avenue to, I believe it's
Really?
503 12th Street. We moving into Beulah Baptist Church. Same time, 8:45 on Sundays. Our Bible study will be there. And we're moving because we have to move because the building is too cold. Here, I'm all congested. I've been on antibiotics. After chemo, I cannot be in a lot of cold. My body just can't take a lot of cold. And I'm a young lady who used to walk 10,000 steps a day. I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I would live in the elements, winter, spring, summer, fall. When it gets real cold, when I'm inside and it gets cold as it was in the place we was worshiping in, it was ridiculous. So I said to Pastor like Jalil, listen, you got to get us out of there. If you don't get us out of there, I can't come to church no more. Because of my chemo, I get sick real easily because my resistance is not, my immune system is not where it was before the chemo. And my body will never be 100% because of the chemo. And I went through chemo and radiation. I'll take 99.5 any day because I'm still here, I'm still walking, I'm still surviving, I'm still breathing. But I refuse to get sick because of other people's ignorance. I refuse to get sick. But what happens, I did get sick, but thank God I got sick this week. I'm getting better. Like I said, I'm doing antibiotics. I had to take some prednisone because my sinuses were so infected. Last night I thought I was going to suffocate. That's how bad my sinuses were acting up. But after I took the prednisone, everything just started coming down. Everything just started coming down. So I'm feeling a whole lot better. But again, like I said, we moved to Beulah Baptist Church because this year has taught me that everybody that said they was Team Ali friends, they was not our friends. And I'm saying it on the disciples. Everybody that said they was my husband friends, my husband was they friends. They were not my husband's friends. Because there's no way we were supposed to sit inside a cold building when it was a heated sanctuary right around the corner from us. And they would not let us use it.
That's right, sis.
So for the whole month of December, We had babies in there that was cold. We have a member that's in the hospital now with the flu. My sinuses acting up. My ears is all infected because of this cold that we was in. But again, now somebody probably going to see this and say, well, why did she stay there? Because I will not let the devil beat me. I will not let the devil beat me. I was not going to not come to church because I am the video person. I do all our lives. I take all our pictures. There's nobody else that does that. So I know what the devil was trying to do. We still went live for the whole month of December. I had to pay for it the last couple of days, but I'm okay now, and I thank God for that. But like I said, me getting sick in 2020 prepared me for 2024 because it made me stronger. I'm not going to badmouth nobody. All I keep saying is I'm not going to be like them. And whatever they did to us, God is going. They got to answer to God for that.
That's right.
I serve a higher power. It's some things I wanted to do. It's some things I said I was going to do, but I keep hearing my husband head in my voice, hearing my his voice in my head saying, "Baby, everything that come up does not have to come out
Does
your
not
mouth.
have to come out.
Go to God with it." And he know his wife. My husband knows his wife. He knew his wife. So I've been saying what I wanted to do, but I'm not going to do that. I want to just let God handle it. Tomorrow is the move. We moving all our stuff early in the morning. We out of there. We're going to be at Beulah Baptist Church. And it's my prayer, and I need everybody to pray with us, that New Psalmist Worship Center goes from a renter's mentality to an ownership mentality.
That's right.
That's my prayer. They keep on saying to me, First Lady, we don't know how you surviving. We don't know why you still standing. We don't know why you doing this. All I have is my mustard seed faith and my prayer. I'm going to stand on that. All I have is the faith, knowing I can't see the building, but we got one. All I have is my faith, knowing that we don't have a bunch of members, but God's going to send them. All I have is my faith that Pastor Jalil Marrow, Pastor-elect Jalil Marrow, that my husband said was his Joshua, is going to get installed in March, and he's going to thrive. He's going to take our church, not back to where my husband was, but take our church to where my husband wanted it to be. That's all I can stand on, and that's all I will stand on. Am I a little pissed? Yes, I'm human. Am I upset? Yes, I'm human. But again, these pastors, not just one, not just two, not just three, I could keep on going. God for Reverend Roundtree, not that she's on, not because she's on here, I'm saying that. I thank God for Pastor G.L. Dixon, because we would not have nowhere to go. We would still be in that cold place.
That's
and
right.
we all probably would have pneumonia or the flu.
That's right.
So I need y'all to pray, because that's what my husband taught me. I don't hang out with church folk people. I hang out with God-fearing people, because church folk is the worst folk. And I said it on, and I pray everybody see this. Because anything I say once, I can say twice, and I'm really upset because we paid our rent. We didn't miss no rent. We never missed a beat. Every month, every month. Every year.
Yes, ma'am.
The building gets cold
ma'am.
like this. And when my husband was alive, we was in the sanctuary. But this year, because people in their feelings, not because of my husband's death, they in their feelings because of other bureaucracy and other little kitty stuff. You talking about people here, little kids.
So we talk about sis.
Come to church and cry because they old.
We talking about church hurt.
Yeah, church
We're
hurt.
talking about church hurt. And here we are at the
And
end
that's
of
where I'm
this
at
year.
right now. That's where I'm at right now. I'm at
church hurt.
And it ain't been a year my husband been buried, but these same people called me family, called us Team Ali. No, my husband was their friends. They was not his friends. And I ain't got to say their name, because when they see this live, they're going to know who I'm talking about.
So listen, I've been trying to get in, for sitting in the waiting room for the past 14 minutes. I was here on time because I called Larry Ham, because I recommended that Larry and Adrian Council come on tonight to be our guests to talk about the 18th and the 20th. But before we go into that segment with my sister, welcome. It's so glad to be here once again on the number one. All politics are local. Hip hop radio station. Brother Ed's not with us tonight, but we know that the spirit of Pastor Rashid Ali is resting, ruling, and abiding with us through Lady Balena. It was not an accident, and it wasn't even a discussion in a boardroom. about who was going to fill that space on the air, because people were trying to fill it before he was even in his final resting place. The body, that is, the physical body, his spirit, of course, was resting with the ancestors. But they were calling, and me and Brother Ed, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad, had a conversation. And we said, wait a minute, how about, and that just came straight from God, what better person who knew him, did ministry with him, understood him, to come on to represent in her own space Pastor Ali. And what she's saying, I hope pastors are hearing, because Pastor Jalil Merrill, I call his son as well in ministry. And even though we're going to go some other places, I just want to tag on to what Lady Balena, First Lady of this generation, is saying. She's saying a whole lot. But what the real issue is, even though they were his friends and not, well, if you were a true friend, then Minister Jalil, Pastor Jalil, would have a true friend indeed. This ministry is about a whole nother another segment. You can only really depend on God to be your friend, because you don't know what man gonna do or woman. So you have to depend on your inner you to not deal with the enemy, which is the enemy of other people's, and what might be come out of. Listen, something could come out of Lady Belina that they've never seen before. But thanks be to God that
You
she
better
listens
tell them. You
to,
better tell them. Better
she
tell them.
listens to the spirit of the ancestors through Pastor Ali to say, you know what? I'm just gonna trust God because I know there's better. Pastor Jalil is a young pastor coming up in our community. And rather than people understanding how they should embrace the young ministers, you have elder ministers with attitudes about directions and personalities rather than trying to embrace, so that you can work on assisting the development and the growth according to God's will and God's direction. But no, 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 no. We all want to follow. That's why we always in trouble, Brother Ham, because we want to follow our own lead, and sometimes we'll lead ourselves right into hell. I mean, I don't know what hell looked like, because anybody ever came back and told me, but there's enough stuff going on right here in Newark, New Jersey, and in a minute in this entire country. And let's talk about the hell, if it's anything bad that you describe when you are running around here and standing for the injustices that are being done to our young men and our young women in our communities. So Lady Belina is speaking to a thing from inner pain that came from some outside folk that were supposed to be in the circle, the inner circle, to protect, to cover, to lead, to while he, in the absence, they say to be absent from the body, to be present from the Lord. Well, to be absent from her husband and in the presence of people, to cover rather than take control, take charge. Belina Ali is not new to ministry, neither is Pastor Jalil. He's new to, I put it like this. He might have been new to the leadership of new psalmists in the position of leading them in the absence of Pastor Ali. But ain't none of us new to church hurt. Not one.
mm,
Not
mm.
one. And then
Well,
we
let
want
me
the
let me
people to turn to us for spiritual healing.
was right. Well, let
But the
me try and
example,
let me try and I might blow your minds with this. All right, but I have always said, right, that this is one of our problems, and I don't just mean, yeah, I want, lady, I don't, I want you to absolutely not feel alone in your frustration. This is a bigger problem that we have amongst our folks,
right?
right? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. From here to the continent, we have folks who are obsessed with this notion of being the leader,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
succession issues are real issues when it comes to certain kinds of things. And some folks just don't know when to, step aside and let the next generation come along. Just don't know how to do that,
Yes.
right?
How about you lead
We
what you lead and help me be a better leader where I'm leading?
yeah, yeah. Those
Larry,
little, I can remember when I decided to and I use the word retire. There was a lot going on, but I use the term retire uh, from the party when I was running the party in this region. They said you can't retire. We and Pastor Doug, I said yeah. I said but that kind of thing does not allow for a wider development of leadership to develop. Right? We think about leadership this way when people who have a better sense of national development think of leadership this way. See, and so that's some work that we need to really look at in terms of our political maturity in all those spaces in the global Black community, so we can mature and bring along, in a better and more fully developed way, the broader talents of our people in our community. That's just so. Lady Balena, you ain't alone, baby.
You
You ain't
know,
alone. You know, after the first wave of independence, and a lot of the former colonies that we were under, that first wave of leaders stayed on forever. Some of them started out well, but in their obsession with staying on, some of them ruined their legacies by virtue of what they became because it became more about them than about the national development of our
oh
peoples
my
and
God, that is
so
so. Ooh, that part right
you know what I'm
there
saying?
is
You
a
hear me?
worldwide. That right there. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It
So
came
that
more
so the
about
church ain't
them.
only gonna
And
go with church hurt.
ooh,
We got some church hurt all over.
ooh, ooh, that just hit me. Ooh, you know listen, I tell the imams, the priest, pastors, everybody, when we meet, my religion is personal. My mission is humanity. If you thinking about humanity, then your personal as a minister of anything has no space. It can never be about just you. The only thing that's about you is your family and God. The rest of it, if you are a leader and you're leading people, or you're responsible for God giving you charge over a specific assignment, you then don't become I. You become a oh Jesus. You when you said that, it just did something to my spirit.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
straight. It
yeah.
went straight on down in my soul, Larry.
Hmm.
It becomes about them.
Yeah,
Who is who's the them?
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
Because
who's
I'm
the
not going to be
thee?
like them. I'm not, because I could be like them because I ain't
I
been
don't want to be
saved
like
all my
them all
life.
day. You know, they always
But
come with
I,
some trouble. People come to me about they said, I said, go get they, bring them to the table, because don't come back and tell me about no they. I don't want no nothing about
come
no
on
they.
now.
They
Come
better
on.
have a name.
Come
Because if
on.
they ain't got no name and you
Come
can't
on.
bring they to me, leave they where they are.
Yes.
I'm just trying to tell you. Folks don't come to me with none of that. Because I got a reputation now that goes beyond the conversation, unless it's how if I can help somebody, then my living won't be in vain.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That part.
Yes, ma'am.
That part.
Yes, ma'am.
But we got a lot going on. Dr. Ham, um, we got a lot going on. We could talk to Larry Ham about the founding of churches, the founding of Christianity, the founding of Richard Allen. We can go to Nat Turner. We can, even though he's on today, because I wanted
We gonna
him to
tell we could
really
definitely do
talk.
some that.
Huh?
We could definitely do some that.
Oh, we can do
That
that.
Turner.
We got to do better about Nat. Preachers, just like they wouldn't walk with King. You know, we the only ones with a Nat Turner Park, and like it'd be like two of us
Whole
out there. I think
country.
I missed it this year. Lord help us. You know, like what is it that they're not getting? Is it? It can't be that we can't, I don't want to use the word ignorant to the movement of ministry throughout. I'm like, what did you learn about when you went to seminary? I mean, what did you learn about Black history? What do you? We're doing ministry and there's sacrifices, and our young people don't. I guarantee you, if you was to take a poll in some of these churches, about who Nat Turner was, they'd be like, is he related to Nat King Cole? No, I'm only kidding.
My
Oh,
husband used
that
to have a
You're not
King
saying
gonna that
Cole.
King
that the
That's
I just said, don't
hilarious.
first
say that.
game.
that
My husband used to have a saying that the first game started in the church.
What?
My husband used to always tell the congregation that. Don't get it twisted. Don't be scared of the gangs outside the street that we go out there and be talking to. Because y'all know my husband. That's how he got the name Pass in the Hood. He loved on everybody, the gang bangers, everybody.
all
He
of
would
them.
tell us that
That's
there's
right.
gangs walking right around the churches. And I believe that.
That's
Because
right.
I saw it all this year. I saw it all this year. I saw it all this year.
Right.
I
That's
tell them,
right.
I say they get their little cliques
The us four no more.
and they get together and will kill everything in there
Yeah.
and run them all out. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm going to take you even deeper. The LGBTQ community. You got people that get up and talk about the abomination and all this stuff. There was a guy named Sylvester. I'm sure y'all
Mm-hmm.
heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvester
You
used
are
to
my
go to,
friend.
All right
yep, I
now.
What a
think
club giant. Mm-hmm.
Sylvester went to Washington Temple until Sylvester came out to church.
Yes, it did.
Sylvester came out to church.
I'm not
Sylvester
surprised.
said the same people that turned him out in the church tried to put him out the
Come on.
church.
Come on.
I'm just saying.
Lord.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Your folks talk about LGBTQ. Some folks wouldn't have had no mass choirs if they wasn't in the church. What was you
Come
doing
That's
on.
about
right.
trying to help? What was y'all trying to do?
That's
What was
right.
y'all trying to do about helping them if you thought what they were doing was so wrong? Don't get me started. She done took this thing to another level. I guess that's why God said, well, just wait on a minute, Roundtree. They taking their time letting you in because this getting ready to be a serious conversation tonight on the disciples as we end this year. Because we don't need to go into 2025 with the foolishness.
Well, I need to end it on here like this because if I didn't get to talk to y'all, I had a plan on what I was going to do. See, my
No,
husband name is Brian Rashid Ali. We ain't been saved all our lives. He taught me some tricks, but he also said to me, if it come up, baby, it don't have to come out. Don't be like
Mm,
that.
mm.
People is watching you. When you're in public, you got to watch because people is watching you. So
Mm.
I hear all that. My husband, he must be knowing I'm going to act up. I said, no, I'm going to go on Disciples and get a little conversation started about this here and just get it all off my chest.
it's best to get stuff out in the open as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm.
So, Larry, you're going to be on for a while because you co-hosting it with us tonight because we're
No,
going to have it.
no, no, no,
We
no.
shocked him a little
I'm
bit.
not qualified to co-host this segment.
Yeah.
This this
We
out of
don't
my
just,
wheelhouse here.
no, we don't just stay on
although
one segment.
although I did kind of when I was hearing Lady Balena Ali, who I want to say thank you. First of all, thank you for attending the Sonia Massey demonstration,
Mm.
Sister Ali.
Yes.
You were there.
Welcome.
And beyond that, you just didn't attend. You took many wonderful pictures.
Thank you.
And I think I tagged you when I posted some of your
You
pictures
did it.
because, yes, you took wonderful pictures. And I posted every day about that demonstration for at least 30 days, and then we kind of got drawn away to the work on the Martin Luther King. But you were there and you took some wonderful pictures. It's funny how people can capture a moment. Sometimes I like the still photos more than the video because the still photos capture a moment. With the video, it's just a stream, but you get that moment, you get that certain feeling, you had such great pictures. And I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through some difficulty. I used to be number one, I used to be a homeowner who used heating oil. I used to be in the heating oil business years ago. I had a fuel oil cooperative. And I know what a cold
That was
church.
the early days of pop. That's
That
right.
was in the 1980s, in the beginning of the 80s. And I know how a big building like a church can get cold. It takes
Oh my
forever.
God. My
It
God.
takes forever because the building absorbs the cold. It's not just getting the heat on, it's getting the cold out. And you're right, people can become sick, you know. And when I was, is Roundtree still on? Reverend Roundtree still on? When I was listening,
Yes.
when I was listening to you talk, it, you know, I'm not, you know, a real active in the church kind of person, but I've read a little bit, and it reminded me of Paul's letters to the
Ah,
churches. This, you know, this issue of what's going on in the church is not a new thing. You
No,
know,
it's
it's
not.
been going on because people are people. People are
that's
human,
right.
you know, and they can sin outside the church and they can sin inside the church,
Yes.
you
Yes.
That's
know.
right.
And I know Paul was chastising some of them churches. He told them, I'm going to come down and I'm going to move your lampstand. You know, and I was like,
That's
wow,
right.
you know, they were having problems back then. You know, he said, some of you are lukewarm. You're neither hot nor
Hot
cold.
or cold. But you also know what the end of that was. And since God don't accept that, he will spew you out of his mouth.
That's right.
That's
That's right.
ain't no, and that's what I tell people. Ain't no in between. Ain't no either or. It either is or not with me.
Right. And I remember Dr. King gave a speech, and I can't remember which one, but you know, he said he was talking about the nations and he was talking about America. And he said, God has a way of doing things. You know, he said he'll break the backbone of your power and give it to a people that don't even know my name. You know, and that always that
Yeah,
always stayed with me, you know, because some of the things kind of spooky. He be saying, you know,
yeah,
he said, he
yeah.
said,
That
I'm
was
gonna
in the
break the
that was in the
backbone of your
sermon.
power.
I can't remember the date, but that was in the
Right.
sermon where he told
Yeah,
everybody, when my time comes, I don't want a long funeral.
right.
Right? It was in that sermon that he broke that down. Yeah, I'm with
Hmm. Yeah, I was, but you know, I wish you all the best, Sister Ali. I can't say, we can't say too many times. We said it before, but we can't say too many times that our hearts are with you, our
Right.
sympathies and condolences. And I knew Pastor Ali, and that brother was real. You know, I knew when I was
Yes.
around him, I was around a real person. You know,
The
he
transparency at its
that's right.
best.
He didn't put on no airs. He wasn't trying
No
to
fake.
be
Yes.
somebody who, you know, he wasn't. He was who he was. He let you know that,
Amen. He wasn't
you know,
bootleg, that's for sure.
that's for sure.
He was the real, original, genuine. I'm telling you, I've known Pastor Ali for 32 years.
Wow.
And
That's a
yeah,
long time.
I think
Yes,
I
it
was at
is.
his 30th
I'm
anniversary.
not far behind you.
He just was never, the only thing I sometimes regret is that I wasn't out there with him now, Larry, I finally started coming out with these protests about 12 years ago, 13, maybe a little longer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
showing up. But when he was
Mm-hmm.
out here, God had me sitting behind desks taking the calls about what we gonna do. These people out here shutting down the streets. I was like, well, there's nothing really I can do. I mean, like, they was calling the mayor's office before Raz got into office, before Mayor Baraka got into office. Um, Ali and them were out there on 280. People, them folks was calling the office saying we can't get home. That ain't what they were saying. They was like, can you get these people to
And
unblock
he
the
was
street?
425 pounds when he first started. He was 425.
Yeah,
wow.
425 pounds.
Yeah.
Sitting on
Wow.
the front of buses.
but had the Holy Ghost too.
Yeah.
He was 425 of full Holy Ghost. Hey, Adrian Council, we got Positive Community on as one of our guests tonight too.
All
Um,
right.
Yeah, because on November 30th, help me,
I
Lord.
saw that
On
John Harmon issue y'all just put out.
Okay, you on mute.
You
But
muted,
welcome to
Adrian.
the North. Welcome tonight to All Politics and Local Disciples segment, where Ed Riley is our producer. Baba Zaid is our main host, along with Jonathan being the sergeant at arms, who's not here. I know
Sorry.
that he'll come on
Jonathan,
and
the
shut
head
us
of the
down.
Jonathan, the head of the leaders.
But thank, thank, thank you for coming on, Adrian. I asked for you and Larry to be on tonight because you have two very important events coming up. There's a whole bunch. These people just turning like they going somewhere. Lord have mercy. Anyway, um, y'all can see I'm in my car trying to get to my desk so I can be on a normal computer. But we welcome Adrian Council. He's had this magazine for the past, he and Gene Nash for over 20 years.
Wow.
He talking about, and I'm going to say this because Johnson's Publishing, there's no more Jet, there's no more Ebony, we do have
Nope.
Essence, but we don't have those publications, those African American publications that highlight anything. At least he is highlighting local health, local education, especially local faith initiatives. He does a lot in New York and Newark. He's always highlighting Newark. And I want to make sure that we keep our dear brother, um, his magazine afloat. He charges little or nothing to put the name of the church in the roll call. But then he travels all over the state and sends photographers to take pictures of various events. And I just want him to talk a little bit about the Emancipation Walk, which we've been doing for the last 3 years, which is coming up soon. We're going to go in order of events. So he'll come on and talk about that. And then we're going to turn it over to our guest co-host tonight, Brother Larry Ham. Brother Larry Ham, who's more than capable. We don't just deal with one topic, sir. So when you say that this certain areas are not your, every area is your area, because you're a well-learned man, and I don't think there's no discussion that could be had publicly, on live, whatever, this Larry Ham, you would not be able to hold your own and speak knowledge and wisdom to that platform. But right now, we're going to hear from the one and only Adrian Council, representing his magazine, Positive Community. Well, did we lose him?
Yeah, he's trying to get back on.
Okay.
Roundtree, why don't you probably should say something about the magazine for those who are not familiar with it. It's a good magazine for those of us who
I
do
just
know it.
did. I just did a
Yeah,
whole spill.
it's a very good magazine.
I just did
Of
a
course,
whole spiel. He's been covering. I think they
yeah, we just
celebrated 22 years.
it's been that long. Wow,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a long time.
I wanted him
that's
to
good,
say.
and it's
I
good.
think it's. I know that we did 20. I was at the 21st anniversary. He's starting to do banquets, galas now, representing. Let me see where he is because he's got to be on WBAI at 7:15. Let me just see where
The man's had a connection issue. He was in and out.
He
He looks
back.
like
He trying to get back in.
yeah, the connection issue that he's struggling with. Right, yeah, but that's a good magazine with some good, very good content. You know, representing the light that we need our culture to be about in the community. We're getting some feedback, and I hope that's not him trying to get in. Uh, but yeah, it's a very good magazine, and we're fortunate to have that in our community. You know, and some of all most of us have been in it in some form or another over the years by virtue of their recognizing the good that we try to do. So I know it's a vehicle that I appreciate, and I hope this is not his first time coming on, because if it is, that vehicle definitely needs to be recognized more in a platform like ours, and that merits another kind of conversation to bring them into the space more about certain developments that they're capable of sharing with our community. You know, it looks like he's having trouble now with her connection, right? Yeah,
Okay,
he's
he's
still
in.
he's off camera, but he's in, right? And then you started having some issues with your link.
Is his video on? Is his video on?
Video's not on. And sometimes we sacrifice our video footage for sake of trying to get the audio on.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I can understand that.
Adrian, can you hear us? Can you hear us all right? Because he's still muted. He's muted. Yeah, and the Rountree's going through. He's going through a real connection check. Roundtree, go out. Well, why don't you both go out and come back in and see how that works? We ain't going nowhere. We're here. We'll hold the fort. We'll hold the line. Right? Yeah, we'll definitely hold the line. Right? Yeah. Now you still feel full of static. You're full of static. Your connection's bad. Go out and come back in if you can hear me. Right, and I'm sure neither one of them can see what I'm putting in the private chat because it looks like they were both on the move. Right, and we apologize for the technical challenge, everyone. But these are the cards we're playing. Right? If you got threes, you gotta ride them threes for as long as you can ride them.
Come back in because I hear a lot of static.
Yeah, go out and come back in. Your visual came back. Yeah, he's there, but it looks like he's frozen because
he's frozen.
Unmute your phone, Adrian. Who's hosting? You are, Baba?
No, Rafisa's got the control.
She's still hosting. Okay, if she's listening, I'm getting ready to go out and come back in. Adrian Council, I see that you said you're on.
Yeah.
But we can't hear you.
Yeah, he's trying to come in on another link. Yeah,
there he is. Hey.
Everybody hear me?
Now
we hear you and we see you. Welcome to all.
Am I okay?
Yes.
Do you guys still hear the static?
Yeah, we hear yours. We still hear. Yeah, you probably should go out and come back in. We still do hear your static.
All right. Well, Adrian, I've given you a well introduction. Why don't you start out talking about the wonderful magazine that you provide with the urban communities as well in the whole metropolitan area? How many years you have been doing mass production, delivering them just like they used to deliver newspapers. He made sure that these magazines are dropped off at City Hall and all the necessary churches that pay their little couple of dollars. They pay hardly $50, whatever they pay, just to have their name in the book. But he travels with his photographers all over the state to cover important topics that affect our community, that benefit our community, and that are happening in our community. So before you go out and I go out, it's in your hands, my dear brother, Adrian Council.
Hello, everybody. Am I being heard?
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me. I do want to just let you know, first of all, we want to wish everybody a happy Kwanzaa. Hopefully you had a Merry Christmas. And as we say at the positive community, blessed emancipation. So glad that you're all here. There are some things that we are doing on Monday, December 30th. We will be at Lincoln Park in Newark, New Jersey. We're going to host our third annual pre-watch night candlelight prayer walk. We're going to walk from Lincoln Park to the steps of City Hall on the 30th, starting at 4:00. Am I being heard?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear.
Yes, okay. Sir. And last year, our keynote speaker was the one and only Larry Hamm, who really brought to us the true meaning of emancipation, what it means, what we call it the Great American Emancipation, because this, the Emancipation Proclamation was really a political wartime maneuver by the administration and the state government and the United States government. But for the African American people, for the Black people in this country, it is a spiritual and cultural event that we should never, ever play lightly. It's a very important date for us. And we're doing the pre-watch night candlelight prayer walk because more than anything else, our people need to know that as they sit in church on watch night, what the true meaning of watch night is. And I think that Larry Hamm, again, who was our keynote last year, the year before that, it was Mayor Ross J. Baraka. This year, it's going to be Reverend Charles Boyer out of Trenton, and Reverend Francis Tebow. Of course, Reverend Rountree leads the march along with the positive community. And we would be happy.
What time is the march, sir?
It's going to start at 4 o'clock. We will be out there probably until about 5:30 or so.
Okay.
And again, we urge you to come out and walk with us, but also bring the children. The pre-watch night prayer walk will be something that people will remember, that our community will remember, and hopefully a tradition that we will adapt. That we will adapt for far into the future. The next 50, 100 years, there should always be a pre-watch night candlelight prayer walk so that we do remember the sacrifices of our ancestors and their prayers and their hopes for the future. And that's what we're going to do. It's not only remembering our past and remembering those who sacrificed before us, but it's also a matter of focusing in on the future and knowing the strengths of our people and their opportunities that are before them. So we're happy to do this for a third year. And Larry Hamm really brought it on last year. Hopefully you'll be with us again, sir. We appreciate you so much. And then on February 22nd, the Positive Community will host its 6th annual Great American Emancipation Day Awards Banquet. We're going to have Dr. Lonnie Bunch of the Smithsonian and the African American Museum down in Washington, D.C. He will be the recipient of the Dr. Clement Price Award for History, Excellence in History. We're going to have Shavonda Sumter, who is New Jersey legislative leader of the New Jersey Black Caucus. She will get, for her organization, will receive the Senator Ron Rice Award, and then we also have a special award that we're going to be giving out, and we have TBD. We have yet to announce that, but there will be a Mildred C. Crump Loving Service Award that we will put out. I'll just let everybody know now. Don't know how it's going to end up, but we know that Mildred Crump also was a teacher, was in education, and as a teacher, she taught the blind. She was the first. She was the first teacher in Detroit, Black woman in Detroit, to teach Braille, and Stevie Wonder was one of her students. She came to New Jersey, and she was the first African American woman to teach Braille in the state of New Jersey. She also raised about $150,000 to help build a school for the blind in Ghana. So guess what? We would like the first recipient of the Mildred C. Crump Loving Service Award to be awarded to none other than Stevie Wonder. So we have an all points bulletin out now to see if he would be willing to accept that honor, whether he's live or live or on video. But it's very, very important. It's very important, obviously, for all sides that we recognize the commitment and the loving service of an artist of his stature. And we want to bring all of this to Newark, New Jersey. We're also going to be honoring Reverend, your friend Larry, Reverend Herbert Daughtry. It will be an honoree. We're going to also honoree Dr. Reef Paulette of Keene University, and Miss Stacy Stewart, who is the president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So we have a pretty good lineup, and we just hope that everyone can come and be with us on this important day, something that we should all remember, the sacrifices, and we should also affirm that we have a future and that we are very much a part of America, and let no one tell us otherwise. Amen.
Beautiful share, sir. Beautiful share. 2 points we gotta make really quickly just to build on what he just shared with us. First, we're talking about the emancipation, and that's something that I always make a point to share when I am teaching and introducing community to Kwanzaa. Emancipation Night or Watch Night is an important root of the original practice of Kwanzaa, right? In the original practice of Kwanzaa, Kumba, or day 6, is celebrated in the evening, going over into midnight into the next day, which is Imani, right? In deference to that fateful December 31st back in 1862, when everybody was waiting for that emancipation statement that Mr. Lincoln put together to go into effect and mark the beginning of the end of the domestic slave trade in this country, right? And so we got to lift that up. That's what we call in all politics local a mic dropper, right? And then you came behind
right,
and started talking about the elegance of this gala and brought the Stevie Wonder connection to our big sister Mildred Crump, right? Another mic dropper, right?
Yes. You know, it was Mildred Crump. It was Mildred Crump that actually got me involved with the observance of Emancipation Day, and that is the Great Clem Price calls it this. Clem Price refers to it as the Great Emancipation, as opposed to the Emancipation Proclamation anniversary. And so it was actually Mildred Crump that encouraged me to take on that role as chair for the 150th anniversary observance. And I must tell you, I was very surprised when I took that on to find out how many of our faith institutions did not recognize or understand the value of that date. That was that was amazing. That was amazing. But nonetheless, we persevered. That was amazing, because I'm a layperson, and so I just assumed. I said, well, this might be good for my business, and and as a matter of fact, we went to make a presentation to Al Copy and the Newark Alliance. He invited us, me and Bob Provost of the Star Ledger. So we went before the corporations of the city of Newark, and Al Copy introduced us. He said, "Man, 150 years. This must be a big deal." We were going to do a concert at the Newark Symphony Hall. None of that took place. But the fact of the matter is that the corporate community was more aware of it and willing to support it than we were. So that was a mic dropper, But it's important that our young people know their history. you got to know their story. They have to know their story, particularly as it was 60 years ago. You know, this was a black and white country. Today, everybody's here. And so even the black community, the African American, the black community of America is multicultural and multi-ethnic as well. So you really need to know, our young people really need to know their story. And so as a result, what I did do is I wrote what we call the African American cultural narrative. And that's our story in 281 words. And so we're suggesting that young people, that we teach our young people that narrative from the time that they're 6 years old up until 13. They should have that thing recited. They should know how to read, write, comprehend, and speak the cultural narrative. So that's what's necessary today.
Once upon a time, families used to read the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the dinner table rite of passage for black families. You know,
that's right. That's right.
March on Washington was a shout out to the emancipation.
Mm-hmm.
That was that 100-year mark, right? So
that's right. That's amazing. That's right. That's right.
That's territory we need to reclaim.
But Dr. Muhammad, I think that you're spot on with all of this, and I'm just hoping that that every year that the turnout gets larger and larger, and particularly at a time like this, we need to hold on to what's ours, and we also need to know what our claim on the American dream is. So we've made some awesome contributions to this country, and I just don't think that we should play that lightly at all.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate that. That's hit me on a lot of levels, and I'm
Let
saying
me
that
back
also.
in. Yes.
She's actually.
I want to commend Brother Councilwoman.
You'll see where I'm at now, right?
Please, I know you got to say something. Go ahead, then.
Yeah, no, I want to commend Brother Council on having this emancipation walk. I believe I was there last year, and I was walking arm in arm with Reverend Roundtree. She's walking down Broad Street. It was wonderful, and I agree with everything that you said. Before there was a Black History Month, Black people observed January 1st as Emancipation Day before Black History Month. And it kind of got supplanted, by what was it called? The Juneteenth celebration. And then Carter G. Woodson came along in 1929, I believe it was, with his proposal for Negro History Week. But before all that, it was January 1st. And you're right. People went to church on the 31st to tarry at the altar, to watch and to pray to see if they were going to, in fact, implement the Emancipation Proclamation. It's interesting that we having this discussion on this part of the show, which is devoted to the religious community, the disciples, because there are striking parallels between the liberation of Black people and the story of the liberation of the Hebrew people in the Bible. A little while ago, I was trying to get my thoughts together for a presentation, and I looked up to see how many people did Moses lead out of Egypt during that emancipation. How many he took out of Egypt into the wilderness. And I believe it said he took 600,000 strong men out. Now, if those 600,000, if the majority of them were married and have children, theologians and scholars estimate that the actual number who left Egypt with Moses may have been 4 million. Now that's very interesting, because at the time of the Civil War in 1860, there were 4 million enslaved Black people in the United States. And just as God brought out the Hebrews, because I don't think it was not Israel did not exist yet, right? It did not exist. Did it? No. I don't know.
No.
I leave that to y'all. But it says God brought them out with a strong hand, and we know about the 7 plagues and the flood
another name.
and everything. But when you look at the Civil War, God brought us out with a strong hand there, because more Americans died in the Civil War than in World Wars I, II, Korea, and Vietnam combined. There was so much fighting that many Americans,
700,000.
That's right.
Died.
That's right. There was so much fighting that a lot of religious people thought the Civil War was the apocalypse of Revelation. They had never seen warfare and bloodshed like that. I remember watching that Ken Burns documentary on the Civil War, right? He was reading letters from soldiers to their mothers. And these soldiers were saying, "Mama, I'm standing waist deep in blood." I mean, think about that. That's what it took to end the enslavement of Black people in America. That's what it took. And it was a deeply religious experience. It was a deeply religious on all sides. Religion, the religion of the enslaved, who wanted to be free, and the religion of the slave masters who wanted to keep us enslaved. As Malcolm said, both were calling on the same God. But I'm glad you're doing this, because we can't know enough. And what's so wonderful this time, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this at the Kwanzaa last night. This time, this week, Kwanzaa is from the 26th to the 1st. It's in the month of December, starts on the 26th. But the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolished chattel slavery, except for those convicted of a crime, was actually announced to the nation by the Secretary of State Seward on the 23rd of December. December 6th is when the Congress ratified the 13th Amendment, and Seward, as the Secretary of State, announced the ratification on the 23rd. So that's the 13th Amendment. Then Kwanzaa is the 26th. Then it goes to the 1st of January. And like you said, watch night on the 31st.
Right.
And then January 1st, was known as Emancipation Day for a time. And I think we need to get back to that. I think that our history is all year round. And, we should try to convey this history, because, they trying to, Reverend Sister Balena, they trying to outlaw Black history.
Of course they are.
This is the irony.
If they can get away with what they want to get away with right now, 30 years from now, our children will not be able to pick up a book and read about Amiri Baraka or
That's right. That's right.
If they can do it now, this is why I'm excited about the Harriet Tubman monument downtown. I'm excited about people understanding who George Washington really is. Not trying to kill nobody else's history, but don't try to dismiss ours, because we got one too. Matter of fact, ours is you only have a history because we are. So
now you hear what the churches are doing in Florida, right? Since they outlawed Black history in the schools, The churches, a lot of Black churches in Florida are setting up Saturday classes
Black history.
on Black history in their churches.
Yeah.
I wish more churches would do that.
That's what we better do.
That's right.
That's what we better do.
Well, I think that
Just gave me
let me
an
just say
idea.
this.
I think
I'm
my
gonna have
Thursday
to
meetings
get off the phone. I have to have another meeting, but let me just say this. I think that we also need to get this Juneteenth, an understanding of Juneteenth in our historical context with emancipation, because it's like without celebrating the emancipation, it's like celebrating Easter without Christmas, or celebrating the resurrection without the birth. We need them both, but we need to understand historically what these things mean to us, so we don't want to take it lightly. We don't want to, we are happy and blessed to have a Juneteenth holiday, but we also have to take the emancipation very seriously.
That's
As
right.
Larry said, 700,000 people died in that war. 4.5 million of us got freedom in the Confederate South, but real freedom didn't come until years later. Am I right?
Right.
Right.
So, so again, we want to make sure that we put our own history in perspective. We want to celebrate emancipation. We want to celebrate Juneteenth, but again, we need to understand the context in which we do that, particularly for the young people.
Very much so.
I have to run, everybody. I got another call.
All right, so we'll see you all. Inviting everybody to join the council.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Am I still on mute? Oh, no. We're inviting everybody while he's just leaving. We're inviting everybody to join us on Monday, at 4 p.m. at Lincoln Park. Larry Ham, I don't know whether you saw the flyer, but we have Charles Boyer, Dr. Charles Boyer from Salvation Social Justice. Yep. Yes, he's going to be one of our co-hosts. What I recommended to brother counsel is that, I'm not big on names. I'm big on work. Like, we can use all the names in the world, but if there's no work being associated with their name, all we got is a name. And the truth is, even if we have those names, if they're drawing people, we want to draw people to do the assignment. So I know for instance, T-Bout, we had logos on the flyer last year, and I said to him, this is all good, Adrian, but who's coming from General Baptist? Because last year, Newark showed up, the Newark clergy showed up, but if we're going to say these people support the initiative, it's the same thing I'm saying about January 18th, which Dr. Ham is going to talk about a little bit more and highlight what that's all about. But we can have 200 names. If all 200 people bring a person, that'd be a good idea. It's good to say you support a thing. It's good for me to say I'm LeVar's mother, but am I taking care of LeVar? Do I show up for LeVar as his mother? Lady Balena Ali, it's a good thing for her to say she's the first lady of this generation, and taking care of new psalmists and baking all these cakes and making everybody listen. Let me just throw that in for free. This is a baking sister, Brother Ham. You have to buy a whole new wardrobe.
Yeah, I was scared of them damn cakes.
Man, she make any kind of cupcake and cake you want. You had something, I done got off track. What did you have with the bottle sticking up? Something you had, I don't think it was church. You on mute.
You muted, baby.
You on mute, Balena, First Lady.
She's steady talking too.
Somebody made some coquito, and
I know I said that. I saw them on social media.
Cupcakes.
I said coquito. Listen, they pay for it, and it's your business, But yeah, she. I'm telling you, she make a coconut pineapple. She can bake cakes and cupcakes. But back to the Emancipation Walk. All these logos on it. I added the Muslim League of Voters, because you can't ask me to be interfaith and just be preachers, pastors. We did the
which is very controversial right now. It's a lot going on with the Jewish community. But if we're going to have the Ramadan banner, the Christian flag, and put up the menorah, then it was good that some imams and some clergy came out here yesterday while they did that, because we are in the season of Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa. Brother Ham, we're going to turn it over to you so you can tell us all these great things that are going to happen on January 18th, with you being the leader of the march.
Don't put it that way. Nobody will come. Just say he's helping to organize it. Because the moment they think it's the Larry Ham show, people will not show up.
That's not true.
We are very happy with the response that we're getting. People's Organization for Progress, we have an annual march for Dr. King. We have been observing Dr. King's birthday since POP was founded in 1982. That was before the official recognition by the federal government, because, you know, New Jersey actually recognized Dr. King's holiday before the federal government did.
Yep.
And then once the federal government did so, everybody got in sync and tried to, you know, do it on the same day, which is now the holiday is on the third Monday. His actual birthday is January 15th. Dr. King was born, January 15th. I believe it was 1929 that he was born. And so POP was founded in 1982. We started having observances, and then I don't know, about 6-7 years after we were founded, we decided we'd not only have an observance, but we'd have a march on Dr. King's birthday. So we've been having marches on Dr. King's birthday for this January, I believe would be the 37th. And not only that, we've also, in recent years, probably in the last decade, we also do something on the anniversary of his assassination, which is April 4th. And, you know, we see our roots as an organization, our political roots, you know, going to Dr. King and to Malcolm X, you know, probably the two men that had the most influence, at least on the contemporary Black nation in the United States. When I say contemporary, I'm talking about post-World War II. Because, you know, before Dr. King and before Malcolm, you know who the #1 man was on the international scene? It was Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson, right out of Princeton. That's, you know, right. Born in Princeton and became an international figure. And it was Paul Robeson that brought the petition to the United Nations. I believe the year was 1952.
December 17th, 1951. We just had that.
51. Thank you. We charge genocide.
That's right.
Paul Robeson and other Black leaders went to took our case. Remember how Malcolm used to talk about, we got to take our case to the United Nations? People did that before Malcolm was even in the nation. They did that in 1951. Paul Robeson and William Patterson, who was the Black councilman. In fact, he was a communist who had got elected to the city council. He took Adam Clayton. He took Adam Clayton Powell's seat on the city council in Harlem, and they simultaneously introduced the petition in Paris and in New York. And in New York, they presented it to the United Nations. I think in Paris, they presented it to Committee on Human Rights or something like that. But anyway, I just say that because, you know, Paul Robeson doesn't get his due, because what happened after 1951, you had the introduction of television, you know, and by the time television got underway, they had blacklisted Paul Robeson. So he didn't get, they took his passport. He couldn't travel, and on and on and on. So we didn't get to see him with that same level of exposure that Dr. King had, and later on that Malcolm had, but Dr. King certainly is worthy, of our recognition, and I'm somewhat puzzled, Reverend Roundtree, and perhaps you and Sister Ali can tell me at some point tonight why the church does not embrace Dr. King more. Dr. King was a minister of the gospel, and he said that whatever his political views were, and I'm not a minister, so I'm not trying to do anything here. I'm just saying that he would always say in many of his speeches that he is a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he was trying to keep, put those principles that Jesus talked about into practice. And, of course, a lot of pastors, it's not that he's not getting any recognition. There are many pastors who in their churches do things to recognize King, but all of them don't. And I'm puzzled by this because he was a black man. Right. There's a black church, black people in these churches.
So you would think that every church in the city or the state or the country somewhere, at least a good 75% on January 15th of the money that we fought so hard to get this national holiday would be doing something. Well, see, that is the problem with the people, especially us. See, let me tell you something. Here's some folk that ain't gonna never let you forget the Holocaust, and it wasn't no Jewish person leading it. I'm just trying to tell you, they ain't even got a name, so they got some names associated with it. They got Hitler and some other folk. They got some names associated with it, but the label, the bus, I can't even get the words out. The Edmund Pettus Bridge, all of these incidents, all of these circumstances and events that took place that were able to help us as a people.
Right.
We don't even talk about it. Thank God for you and Kafele. And I got to throw that out there because Kafele will be on it too.
Right.
Principal Kafele be on it. But when you start talking about preachers, it's like, and maybe that's that. I don't know whether the message has to be why. The message has to be why not?
Right.
Why are you not doing this for your children? I'm at the stage in my life, Larry, where, based on, I know we're not living in the days of Methuselah, where you live to be 100 years old. So I don't know, unless there's something that's going to be put in the juice or the food that's going to give me another 100 years. But I really don't want to. I'm at the stage now where I'm talking to people about the next generation. And that's what I'm doing now. But you can't prepare them. People said, I was at a meeting, case in point, real quick. I was at a press conference with a group of preachers, and they were talking about young people in politics and ministry. And one young minister, well-learned, degreed up, said, well, young people really don't care about what took place before. I couldn't wait. I was like itching to say, you got to do both. You can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. You got to talk about what was, what is, and what possibly will be if you don't deal with what was and what is. You got to connect these things when you're going before people, when you're having conversations, when you're doing presentations, when you get the opportunity to speak to young people. You've got to get them listen. I tell my mother's story. I was talking to somebody just the other day, and what they said to me was just so unbelievable. They said, we need more opportunities, and young people just don't have no. And I said, hold it. My mother just spirit came straight through me. And I said, I know a woman that came here in 1938, and she was not my complexion, which means, during certain eras, there was only certain things you could do. You was either going to be in the house or in the field, or coming up north, which was still one of the most racist segregated. We talk about New Jersey, Larry. You know the history. But she came here. She came here and put herself through school, cosmetology school, and one of the most difficult times for Black people, let alone a Black woman. 1938, women couldn't even get a credit card. That's right, Teresa. Post-Civil War Reconstruction history. But the truth is, they have to understand you can persevere. You can get through. You can do what you need to do if you just stay focused. We so busy speaking doom and why we can't and what was. No, we have to understand that there was a struggle. Absolutely. Not just in the church, outside the church. The church is supposed to be a place where we can go to find some refuge, to find peace, to find unity, to organize. That's where most of the organizing took place. Come on here, Alan. Come, Richard Allen. Come on back. Stop and talk to us for a little while. Come on, Moses. Come on, Job, who had the faith that would say, wait a minute. All right, First Lady Job, I know you want me to cuss God because I lost everything. I lost my children, lost. This ain't nothing new. Lost everything. I'm just gonna have the faith and persevere, and then he got triple for his trouble. But we don't have that endurance. We live in a microwave age like young people because they don't know the struggle, and not enough of us are spreading the message. You can stand on the top of the World Trade Center with a megaphone all over the state of New York. And them folks will walk by and say, what's that noise? A few people might stop because my mother said, anybody can get a soapbox and go outside. Somebody going to stop and listen. But the message has to be that our young people can pursue that being Black, there's nothing wrong with it, that we can. Martin Luther King is just one of many. But he has a holiday, a whole holiday. Just like Jesus, they wasn't born on December 25th. They don't even know the date, but they say it was in December. So we do December 25th. I mean, if you study the history,
right?
We got these dates that we set aside. We talk about Black history. You know what I tell people, Baba? My history is celebrated every day.
That's right. There you go.
Man, woman. Every single day I wake up, I say, thank you, God, for me being a woman, because I can't change it. At least I ain't trying to. And thank you, God, for being Black. A lot of people don't thank God for that. How about just thank you, God, for who I am? Because you made me to be who I am. And we so busy looking at everything else, Brother Larry. Come on, Brother Larry. Come on back in. Join this conversation. You got me on the road about this King thing. Somebody out there listening can go back and decide that on January 20th, they're going to put something out and say, let's have something. Let's have a group of children. And you know what the Muslims do?
What do they do?
They have Brother Bashir, not our Brother Bashir, another Bashir. They do a Quran, a thing during Ramadan. They got children that come up and recite the whole Quran. They can recite the whole Quran.
Yeah, this is called the practice is called the memorization of the Quran. It's called Hafiz Quran, right?
So you know the event that we have every June. In June, they usually do it at Symphony Hall. One year I partnered with them, and they did the piece at Symphony Hall. Then I blocked off Broad Street for us to do the iftar. But I'm just saying, it's so profound. Did they do that? Did they take the time? And the Jewish community does the same thing. We give somebody the Lord is my shepherd and the Lord's prayer, and don't talk nothing about the bus boycott.
Right. Right.
Well, you know what? From my experience, let me see. It's been different. And in Montclair, I go to the Q's event. They do it at Elmwood Church the Saturday before Dr. King's birthday. They do a breakfast with a, and they've been doing that for years.
He didn't say none. He said,
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying. You know, so in Orange, you have the clergy of the Oranges. They do the
no, they
MLK,
do. They honor people every year.
and
That's
in Newark, I
listen,
know at St. James we used to do it. I don't think we haven't got back to it yet at St. James, but that was with
I
the
know Florida does something, and
yeah,
Paradise used to do it. Wood Slaughter, they don't do it together
exactly.
anymore. But
Yeah.
my thing is this, Donna. I get what Brother Ham is saying. When you look
Hmm.
at the numbers, and I guess we'll never be able to conquer that piece. It'll all be up to God and the mindset of the people, what they want to do, or maybe somebody got to lead that too. You know, and I'm just sitting here thinking that with the over 400 plus churches I might ask that question Monday morning in my meeting. How many of y'all having something for Martin Luther King's birthday?
Right.
I might ask that question because the truth is, you're telling us that folks are doing it, but there's so many that's not. So it's not a bad question for me to ask on Monday morning. I'm having a meeting Monday because I can't meet on Thursday. How many of you are doing it?
And
Why
maybe
don't we
we,
get together and have an event for Black History Month once a week? Go to a church and on Sunday, rather than preach, talk about the historical perspective of this man that was a preacher. Maybe we might want to start with the traumatic experiences in that turn into customs. Heads and stuff. I mean, it's history.
yeah, that's what
That
used to
might
happen in Sunday
traumatize
school.
kids. So let's stick with the Martin Dr. King piece because I had somebody ask me that was not a religious person about 15 years ago, and they said, "You always, you talk about Jesus and this, that, and the other, but you ain't never met him." Right? That's what they said to me. So I said, "Well, do you know anybody?"
Wow.
I said to the person, it was a young person, and I said, wasn't a church person. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Yeah, I know you've heard of him, and you're telling me I talk about him. I said, and based on the teachings that I read, I want you to be able to see the Jesus in me based on the teachings. I said, but let me ask you a question. I said, you ever heard of Martin Luther King? And the guy responded to me, yeah, he was a great man. He did a whole lot of great things. This kid was 18. Ain't never heard. I said, oh, really? I said, so you've heard of him and you're telling me he did great things? Yes, he got shot down in Memphis. Gonna tell me the story. I said, good. I said, well, have you ever met him? And he looked at me. And I said, tell me, because see, I know how old you are, and I know he's been gone a long time. I said, so he said, look, man, I got it. Because sometimes that's the way you have to deal with the mentality of individuals that are stuck with tunnel vision on the way they see things. So you telling me about Jesus and me being who I am in my faith. But I know how great the man is that you never met too, named Dr. Martin Luther King, that you're going to tell me when I ask you if you heard of him, you're going to tell me, oh yeah, I know about him. He a great man. He did this, he did that. But have you ever met him? You met his history, and you could tell me how great he was. So this is the mindset that we want to instill, Sister Donna, in some of our young people so that they can understand. And Larry is 1000% correct. You just gave me an assignment. I'm
And
meeting
is
with
it
35 on Monday
and
morning. And when I meet with
even
those 35 pastors, I'm going to say, what are we doing, not just in the memory of, because anybody can do something today. Anybody can put on a concert. Anybody can. What are we doing to talk about from community to chaos? What are we doing to talk about the I have a dream that wasn't his dream from the door, but it was A. Philip Randolph and Mahalia Jackson that said, tell them about the dream. Well,
tell them
everybody knows
about the
about I
dream,
have a
Martin.
dream.
Tell them about the dream. But didn't it in the last couple of years it changed to volunteering? That was the mission on Dr. King's birthday. I think they tried to change it nationally to a day of
That's what
volunteering.
the family wanted. They didn't want no burning skin. She didn't. Well, this was, I don't know if it was right after COVID. She was like, don't do no marching in honor of my father. Now, I'm gonna tell you what happened. I don't know, because I know the 20th, our brother Al Sharpton is doing a major march in Washington
In Washington. Mm-hmm.
while the inauguration's going on. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be here doing a all women's empowerment in the name of Coretta Scott King, because she has never been associated with the honor at the same time. So at Prudential Arena on January 20th, we're bringing in 4 of the top in the nation female basketball teams to play basketball. We're bringing in some choirs. We're bringing in a couple of preachers to talk about the legacy. They don't have a long time. It's going to be on halftime. The mayor's going to have a space to speak. I don't know how we're going to do this, Larry. We just one person. We're just one person. And the 20th, anywhere I can be to talk to a young person or be in the arena, talking about Dr. Martin Luther King in front of those thousands of people. See, they got an idea that they just want to highlight. And I think it was a great idea, the Coretta Scott King Classics.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
a good
always
idea.
fall on his birthday. It's falling on the inauguration. Because when they first asked me to get involved with that, I said, baby, I can't get involved with that because I'm going to be in Washington at Kamala Harris's inauguration. I said, y'all I got to find January 20th. I'm not going to be in the Prudential Arena. I will be in Washington, D.C. when they first called. But then, unfortunately, it didn't happen. So when they called me back.
You know, Coretta is deserving of recognition. You know, in Montclair, in the park, I think it's Nishwain Park, in Montclair, there's a monument that has both King and Coretta on it.
Yep.
Yes. And their picture, and now they can put a picture in stone,
right?
On the marble. And they have Coretta and Dr. King on that monument. And knowing what I know now, which ain't a whole lot more than I knew then, but knowing what I know now, I have vaulting respect for Coretta Scott King.
Oh, yeah.
Because the story could be different.
It sure could.
Very different. A great black woman.
The story could be different.
Come on.
In the aftermath of her husband's death and all the dirt the FBI dug up on King, and they dug up some dirt. Yeah. I'm not going to run away from it.
That's right.
They dug up some dirt. That woman, Coretta Scott King, conducted herself with dignity
and integrity.
And integrity and intelligence.
Yes.
No scandal. No. She could have been on talk shows talking about her husband and what he did and this, that, and the other. Not only that, after he was assassinated, because he had quite a schedule. He was supposed to go all around the country.
That's right.
She went.
That's right.
When the funeral was over, do you know that they came to Newark? That there was a march for Dr. King after he was assassinated in Newark? They used to have the pictures downstairs in the basement.
City Hall.
I don't know what they did with the pictures. Somebody need to go back and they need to go back and get them.
I think the pictures in the down
of Harry Belafonte. Right. So she spoke out against the war in Vietnam. Coretta Scott King was at Gary. Gary was supposed to be the Black Power meeting, right? Coretta was there. I'm telling you what I saw, not what I read. Coretta was there sitting next to Betty Shabazz, the wife of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
At Gary. And I was fortunate. I met Coretta Scott King in August of 1971. I was invited to speak at Southern Christian Leadership Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I received the Youth Leadership Award from the hands of Coretta Scott King.
That's when
And you
met
know
Rosa
what was,
Parks, right? That's when you met Rosa Parks, isn't it?
That's the same day I met Rosa Parks is the same day I met Coretta Scott King. Now I want to tell you something I haven't told people. When I got that award, they didn't give it to me in the hotel. The SCLC had rented out damn near the whole Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans. So they could have gave me the award in the ballroom. They actually had a rally in the community, in the Black community, in a park. And it was so strange because I knew Miss King was going somewhere else because she was in her, evening, what do women wear to formal affairs? I don't want to say the wrong word. In her gown with her diamond earrings and everything. She was in that park with the people and gave me that award in front of the people. I met her again in a meeting between that Bill Howard had when he was with the National Council of Churches. She campaigned to free Nelson Mandela.
She did.
I mean, she conducted herself, and so did Betty Shabazz.
Yes, they both
Those
did.
women conducted themselves with
Those
dignity.
were the original women of the movement.
Man, oh man. Because the story could have been different on both of them.
That's right.
But they decided that they were going to take the high road. And Coretta Scott King came out against the war in Vietnam before her husband did. Many people don't know that. She came out against the war in Vietnam before he did. He came behind her, so that they were both, by 1967, they were both on the same page. But she might have been pushing Martin. We don't know. She might have been pushing, like,
but normally, you know what? Let's be clear. It takes a woman that's strong and a character to encourage. Because let's be real. His brothers wasn't with him, right? And they pushed him out there, to do the things that he did. So now the woman that's with you got to say, now look, either you're gonna have some women that say, but man, you ain't going out there, you crazy. You got to stay home and you got to be the pastor and you got to do this. But she wasn't that wife.
I mean, think about it. Think about it. If your husband went out and did something to cause somebody to throw a bomb in your house.
That's right.
That almost kill you and
your children. That's right.
What would you say to your husband?
Yeah, it'll be his rider.
Huh?
She was his rider. She was a ride or die chick.
She was his ride or die. Ride or die. Ride or die. Because most women would have said, you got to get out of that mess.
That's
You're
right.
going to get yourself killed and us killed too.
That's right. That's right.
It's the truth.
Yes.
Most women would have been like, oh no, you got to get out. Right. Y'all, you're going to get the whole family killed.
That's right.
Shoot.
I'm trying to think of what year Kitty Taylor, my godmother and my mother's niece, and I know you know her, Larry, because she had you on a show. Kitty B. Taylor.
I remember Kitty Taylor.
WNJR. She was on for years. But our Kitty bought Coretta because of the Howard University connection. She brought her here for they wasn't calling it Singing Praise of King then. She brought her here under Sharp James. James Cleveland was a choir that sang. New Jersey Mass sang with them. And I can't remember the year. I was very young. But that was the first time I met Coretta Scott King. when Kitty Taylor brought her here. Didn't have no relationship, didn't have no conversation. I ain't gonna tell no lies about no stories. Till we sat down and talked with her, and Kitty Taylor were very, her, Dorothy Height. These were the women, Dorothy Height, Betty Shabazz. These were strong women that took stands and were not fearful. They were fearless. They didn't mind.
That's right.
She was so meek and humble. You would never, to see Coretta Scott King, Lady King, in a forum where she walked in with such grace. She walked in like you said. She was in the park with the diamonds in the gown, but even that was with grace. Like some folks, once you go in the park, your whole demeanor changes, even with the gown and the diamonds. Bob.
Right.
You know,
right.
You like, now you got to. But she elegant.
No, she carried that banner. She carried it till she died. She carried that banner. Another one, and I don't want to get off the subject, but another one was Marilee Evers.
Yes.
Medgar Evers' wife.
She was the first. Whose husband, not the first person, but husband assassinated in the driveway.
She picked up his banner. She picked it up. But
she doesn't get the spot. She
doesn't.
Only here lately, these past maybe 15, 20 years. Like there's a lot of people, like you talk about Rosa Parks, but there was the lady, who was it? She was
Claudette Colvin. Claudette Colvin.
You knew where I was going.
We brought her to Newark. We brought her to Newark.
That's right.
We brought her to Newark, and we brought Sarah Collins, the sister of Hattie Mae Collins, who was killed in the 16th Street Baptist Church. Both of them spoke at Abyssinia. We brought both of them to Abyssinia over there on West King Street. Full house.
That's history. It was not told, because all you would hear, the only story was the poor babies or the babies that got burnt up in the.
That's right.
You didn't even remember their names, because nobody ever talked about their names other than those.
Nobody talked about them. And the reason they bombed that church was because that church was a center for the organizing of the movement in Birmingham, or is it Montgomery? I think Montgomery, the 16th Street Baptist Church.
That's Birmingham.
Birmingham, 16th Street Baptist Church. But they bombed a lot of churches. The 26th, I believe, was the anniversary of the bombing of Fred Shuttlesworth Church. That's another one we don't hear much about. Fred Shuttlesworth. Shuttlesworth was as articulate as Dr. King, maybe even more militant than Dr. King. They bombed his church and almost killed his wife. The church, let me tell you, when I was young, and I'm going to say this on this show, when I was young, I was very critical of the Black church. Now, I didn't grow up in the church like some people, but I did go to church once in a while. My grandmother and her sister Joan went to Mount Calvary Baptist right there on the corner of Hawthorne and Seymour. Reverend Mapson.
But it wasn't always there, was it?
No, they were. He was on Prince Street.
Prince Street. That's where my mother had her first graduating class.
And my grandmother and her sister Joan was with Mapson when he had a storefront church on Prince Street. The other church I went to was a Pentecostal church, which was Way of the Cross. It was on the corner of Bergen and 16th Avenue, where Camden Street School is now. They tore all that down. And when I was young, I was very critical of the church. But I'm going to tell you something. If it wasn't for the Black church, we'd be in even worse shape. And I know that there's a lot in the church that need to be changed and need to be corrected. But other things have come and gone. But the Black church as an institution is still there. Now, can it be better? Of course, we can all be better, and everything could be better. But, when people in trouble, whether they belong to the church or not, they go to the church to get help. You know, the church feeds a lot of people. The churches have daycare so that women can drop their kids off and go to work. And the churches give one of the few places left that gives some kind of moral instruction. And I'm going to tell you, human beings need moral instruction. Now, that instruction may come in different forms. It may come through different religions, but somebody got to tell folks, thou shalt not kill. You know, somebody got to tell them, thou shalt not lie. You know, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. I mean, somebody got to teach it, you know, and the church does that. It does, you know, it does it for the people in this congregation. And I know a lot of folks will say the church could to do more, but I'm gonna tell you something. We'd be in even worse shape if we didn't have the black church, you know. And I shouldn't just say now, because now we have there are millions of black people who are now Muslims. So now you got to say the church and the mosque.
That's right.
You know, but
and the synagogue.
And the synagogue, because there's black Jews, there are black Hebrews, you know, but let me just say the march, because we'll talk about everything and I forget to talk about the march. That's like last night, you know, but the march is it's the Martin Luther King March of Resistance. It's going to take place on Saturday, January 18th, 12 o'clock noon. It's going to start at the Martin Luther King statue, 495 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Newark. That's right next to the Hall of Records. If you need a landmark, think of the Hall of Records. We're going to start there. And instead of doing this by ourselves this year, we decided to reach out to get people to endorse and work with us on the march. And I can say that as of tonight, we have 212 endorsers of the march. 212. Now, if those 212 will bring their people, we'll have a pretty big march. I don't know how many, but it'll be big. Look, if each group send one person, that's 200. That's bigger than our average march, 200. But we want thousands. We don't want a couple of hundred. We want thousands because we want to make a statement that we have to fight back, that we can't just roll over because, you know, he won the election. I mean, we got to fight back, not just because of Trump. What's happening to black people has been happening for over 50 years. Dr. King wrote his 5th book. I think I had it here. He wrote his 5th book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? He wrote the book in 1966. It was published in 1967. He said the country had already turned its back on the war on poverty and on the struggle for desegregation. He said that. He was still alive when he said that. And so this whole question of going backwards didn't begin with Donald Trump. It started before Donald Trump. It started when Dr. King was still alive. But what has happened under Trump, I would say since, 2016, is that they have stepped. It's like driving a car. You can drive slow or you can hit the accelerator and go to 75 miles an hour. And that's what Trump did. He accelerated processes that had already been in play. Look, Trump appointed 3 people to the Supreme Court. What was one of the first things they did? Overturn affirmative action in higher education. And they've come out already with figures that show just since June of 2023, Black student enrollment is already declining. Companies are ending their DEI programs, which means that Black people who were in programs to help train them, to move them up in the company, in what they call it, diversity, equity, and inclusion, those programs have ended. Walmart. I don't know why we still going to Walmart. As soon as that decision came out, Walmart ended its DEI program. So a lot is happening. You know, there are more poor people in America since Dr. King was assassinated. There's more segregation. Believe it or not, it might sound counterintuitive because a lot of people have moved into white neighborhoods. But overall, America is more racially segregated today than it was when Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. I know that might sound hard to believe, but you can Google it and find out. You know, poverty, racism, Black people are still the #1 targets of racial violence in America. I know we hear about other groups, and other groups are targets too, and that's wrong. But when you look at the statistics, you still see that the majority of bias-related racist violence is still directed at Black people. So this is the year that we need to pull ourselves back together. Everybody's, you know, depressed and everything about the turnout in the election. We need to pull ourselves back together, get back on the battlefield, you know, and keep pushing like our ancestors were pushing, you know. So we want everybody to come out. If there are other organizations that want to endorse, we want other organizations to endorse. Shoot, I'd like to have, we got about 12 churches that have endorsed. And I thank you, Reverend Roundtree, because we got the Interfaith Alliance. Is that your group, Interfaith Alliance?
Yes.
Okay. And we got also Reverend Green's group, I Am, and we got Reverend Paradise, James, Jethro James, North Jersey Black Churchman. They endorse. So we have all these endorsements, but we want more endorsements. We should have 100 church. Dr. King was a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. There should be 100 churches alone, you know, on as endorsers. A category.
Well, I know the Newark Interfaith Alliance has quite a few on that list. I don't know about how many churches Newark, Jersey, and I know I Am has. Look at Hakim on here. How you doing, brother? So yeah, I know that and I said it earlier. If you got 10 people, Donna, connected to you, when you show up in the room, that's 11 right there. If those 10 people got another 10, that's 100 if it's 10 plus 1 for everyone that's in the room. What we do is we play down our circle of influences. I've learned, and I'm not going to say how I do it because I know it's God that does it, but God gives me direction. So if I want to fill a room, brother Ham, I don't go out here trying to wait on social media to bring the people. Social media is just a tool. I go get me 10 people, and I say, listen, here's the assignment. And based on the work we do, the truth is, and I say it all the time, and I know y'all have heard it, that if you're a leader and nobody's following you, you're just taking a walk. So we need to make sure that we as leaders, those of you tuned into All Politics and Local on this Friday night, which we thank you for joining us for our last show of the year, that you make sure that on January 18th, you show up like you did when they put the foot on the man's neck. Show up the same way. Show up.
That's right.
Somebody told me, you know, you can't go in rooms talking about Minister Farrakhan. And you know what I told them?
What'd you tell them?
They didn't actually say I couldn't. They asked me, why do I? And I said, why not? I said, because the truth of the matter is, that's our problem. Instead of us actually looking at the progress of an individual that was a great organizer, that was able to bring 1 million. I mean, I know he had great people working with him. You know, our own Councilman Council was part of the youth organization.
That's right.
Your position.
That's right.
Pastor Ham, Larry Ham. And what the problem is, I've noticed with our communities now is that if I'm not leading it because I think I've arrived, then I'm not going to put my all into it. And when I try to tell the brother and then the sisters that work with me, I don't say I lead them. They call me their leader and all of this. This is what I say to them. Y'all stop worrying about who's in front of the line, because if the line is moving forward and you in it, you're going forward. But the minute you focus on who's in front and you're not moving, then you're just not moving, but they are. So we need more people to focus on moving forward for progress, moving forward for reparations, moving forward against white supremacy, moving forward against the injustices that are being done, not just in our communities, but in our homes and our government. And I mean, we have to start focusing on these things, because some of the stuff we're focusing on is really wasting precious time. And you only have so much on this earth. So much, only 60 seconds in your minute, you know. And so, and y'all know that poem too, but we won't speak that tonight. So my prayer is that we as a people, because people talking about these next 4 years, baby, y'all better start working on what's going to happen these next 4 years today. Yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about to get serious.
He started on January 6th, 2020. What is it? He started January 6th when they ran up on that building. He was already campaigning. Here we are. We're going to wait until 2024. Poor Kamala, so the 300 days before. Here you going out there, and Lord help us. And she
it's interesting because
for 100 days.
Well, it's interesting because President Biden's in the Virgin Islands, and when he returns, actually his last, I guess, official act is December 31st, and then anything after that will happen when after Trump is sworn in. So Trump, even though he's not sworn in, Biden should not be taking any official action during the first days of January. That was interesting to me. I didn't know that.
Well, that's interesting to me because the government almost got shut down last Friday behind a budget. And LaMonica texted me and said, Congresswoman said, Newark ain't got nothing on what I'm going through down here. You know, and what's so unfortunate is that you better start, you know how they tell you to prepare for disasters? Okay. You talked about Moses earlier, Brother Ham. And all those people that were led out of Egypt and those who were led through the wilderness. So I do believe that we are going to be just fine. There's going to be some cutbacks. There's going to be some, Brother Baba, there's going to be some cutbacks. Because if Elon Musk, they'd already been cutting back January 2024. December, December, just now in the meeting. However, God got somebody to have some grace so that the government didn't get shut down. And so until March 2025, we're going to be all right. But
as Elon Musk said, we might have some rough couple of months.
Well, wait a minute. Trump about to have an issue now. Did you hear that? Did you see? Hello, Myrna. Him and Trump about. Listen, it's only a matter of time when you got the demons like all in the same room. It's only a matter. Like they said, the Trump coming for him. Like say, wait a minute now. I am the president of the United States. You know, what is you smelling? What's that? Parsley?
Nah, cilantro.
I know it's one of them.
Yeah, you gotta get those heavy metals out the body, you know.
I know that's right. Yeah, so even amongst the powers that be, anybody that went out and they said, you know, only a white man could get that kind of power because he was I said, baby, he probably would have got that position. He was black with all the money he was giving out for people to vote for Trump. I don't think it had nothing to do with color at that point. You offering people $1 million to. And now look at what's going on in government and what Trump stepped to him and said. So we just going to sit back and we can't sit back and eat no popcorn. We got to sit back and work. While that show is going on, we got to be preparing our own production of what's going to happen for our future. Well, listen, Baba, you and Donna get ready to carry on this next segment, right? I think we did very well. Listen, thank you for joining the Disciples Where's Melina? Thank you for joining the disciples. Minister Haqq Muhammad. We're getting ready for Savior's Day soon. Ramadan will be coming upon us. Right now, we're in the season of Kwanzaa. Hanukkah started yesterday. Christmas was the day before. But the truth of the matter is, we're just excited that we are alive. And what we're going to do is strive in 2025 and thank God that we are alive on today. Thank you for joining us on the disciples. Minister Haqq Muhammad tried to keep the fire going with Sister Balena Ali. God bless you. And if you can see behind me, I'm packing up all the stuff in my office that's going to be going out of here for 2024 because we're going to be doing some other things as this stuff is going out the door for 2024 to bring in some new things so I can fight for 2025. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Brother Ed, in your absence. Thank you, Brother Baba Zaid. Thank you, Sister Donna. And God bless all of you. Don't forget, January 18th is the march. On Monday, join us at Lincoln Park as we walk and get a lesson on the emancipation. That's right, Baba. Hold December 30th. That is Monday at 4 p.m. Meet us at Lincoln Park. Tonight, I hope you gentlemen came out to the men's meeting. Men's meeting was tonight at Central High School. The mayor has one every fourth Friday. Looking forward to seeing you all at our next show at the end of January. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to seeing you December 30th before we cross over into the new year. God bless you and have a wonderful, wonderful, happy holiday. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy anything that is going to help you to be better as you move forward in life. God bless you all.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Hakim, peace out.
God bless you. Peace, Queen. It's always a pleasure seeing you. You put the battery in my back. I feel so good right now. 2025, better watch out. I got the Reverend Roundtree battery in my back right now.
That's right. Somebody said you don't even need no coffee. Just invite her to the meeting.
Facts.
Donna, did you fix that thing that you asked me about?
No, I'll call you tomorrow.
It was fixed. Okay. Love you.
I'll call you. Bye-bye. Love you.
Bye, Chicky. Sister Rivera.
All right.
Latino Action Network.
All right. Quite a segment for the last show of the year. We're going to now turn it up and get ready for something that's going to happen as soon as the year begins. Right? Coming into the year, though we're clear on having our own agenda, we come in on the strength and the work of our own agenda. Right? So I'm very proud to share with you now the work of the Latino Action Network Foundation. One of my favorite comrades in this state, great Cuqui Rivera, is going to introduce this conversation and talk about this powerful working summit that's going to happen on January 7th and January 8th. And she's got somebody with her who's coming to us fresh from some real stuff. And I'm gonna let Cuqui introduce her and bring Myrna into this conversation in her own inimitable way. Cuqui, welcome back to All Politics Are Local, right? First, let's do this though, right? And I know we lost some time, and we're gonna
Hey, Cuqui.
Right?
Beautiful.
For the benefit of those who are not familiar with the work of the Latino Action Network Foundation, tell us that first, and then let's jump into what's going to happen in the summit and how that was a 20-year walk, a 20-year, process that got us to that point, and the transformation that took place in the process as we lift up January 7th and January 8th.
Well, you're really asking for it, aren't you?
Come right out with the big stuff because, we done lost some time, so we got to, finish the fight strong.
Yeah. So I am the outreach director for the Latino Action Network Foundation, and I am the planning chair for the working summit that 2025 that Zaid is referring to. At the Land Foundation, we do a lot of policy research, and we have a lot of policy papers there, and we do a lot of work with Cover All Kids, and we are involved in the education lawsuit against the Department of Education for desegregation. And we just do so many things, and it's probably easier to just say, please go to landfoundation.org, lanfoundation.org, and just look over all of the stuff that we do. Once you get there, the very first thing that's going to pop up after you see a couple of our big heads over there on the screen will actually be the registration for the Working Summit 2025. What the Working Summit 2025 actually is the 20 years later kind of revival of the seeds that sparked this movement in the state of New Jersey 20 years ago in 2000, 2002, and 3. That directly addressed from Black and brown voices and advocates, along with state leaders, the issue of people of color overrepresented in the adult incarceral state. So that was something that New Jersey never looked at. And the way that we took that on 20 years ago was it was something that they looked at for the juveniles, but they didn't look at it for adults. And so here we are. Well, before we get here 20 years later, that joining of Black and brown advocates back then, the Black Issues Convention and the Hispanic Directors Association of New Jersey, which is the Land Foundation is kind of an outgrowth of that, but it, as evolution is, you know, we evolved in certain ways, but we still have the basic premise from the Hispanic Directors 20 years ago in many ways. But between the advocates and state departments, all that were related and connected to criminal justice in any way, from police to court to probation to JJC to the Attorney General's office, corrections, parole, all of it, public defenders. We created a report 20 years ago, which is on our website as well. Much of this information that I'm sharing with you tonight is on our website. And it's being shared as well with some of the partners. So this is a recommendations document from 20 years ago that showed us, and you can see as you look at the executive summary of that, if you ever choose to, a lot of the laws that came to pass since 20 years ago. Many of them laws came out in a pile of laws under the leadership and ship of Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman. And in fact, now Congresswoman, yay, Nellie Poe as well, was another champion, Black and brown champions of criminal justice reform here in New Jersey. But you can see all of the work that happened 10 years later in this Bonnie Watson Coleman's package that is also on our website of all the laws that she passed in 2010. Since then, we've continued the advocacy. We've continued to evolve Black and brown advocacy together with the Land Foundation, with Salvation and Social Justice. And now, again, in terms of looking at where we are now, 20 years later, with the rest of the partners, we were able to all convene back together. We will be having an event on January 7th and 8th. It's free. You have to register. Seating is already limited. It's in Monmouth University, 400 Cedar Avenue, West Long Branch. It's a 2-day event. And all of the partners that all of the partners that we brought together back then are not only here again, but we have some new kids on the block now. 20 years ago, I was blessed to be able to visit inside the prisons and work with returning citizens. I worked with incarcerated peoples, 20 years ago. And I spent about 1.5 years with them. And their recommendations as a result of it in the original summit was put into that document, that guide, that action agenda, if you will, for New Jersey to reform. Now, 20 years later, many of the people that I worked with back then, directly and indirectly, are now home. And that's a major accomplishment. And that has to do directly with the advocacy that we worked on together, with the COVID release, with bail reform, with all of these things that we've been able, with solitary confinement, just all ban the box, all of these things that we worked on so hard, and I can keep going on that way. Police licensing, all of these things that we worked on. You know, the criminal justice system is a big pill to swallow there. Well, since some of these people started to come home, they worked directly and indirectly with us in this campaign all these 20 years. And now we have what I would call an army of returning citizens that grabbed the torch, took it out of my hands and said, "We got this, Cuqui." And I'm like, okay. So the beauty of that is that this particular event, while they could not participate in the first summit in any real way, they're actually running this summit. So that's a big deal to say. But before I go into that, I wanted to also let us know that even though I couldn't get back in a lengthy way inside the facilities, I did spend the entire summer inside East Jersey State Prison, inside Edna Mahan, and inside the Juvenile Justice Commission, who was very happy to work with us as well. And we were able to do focus groups again with incarcerated people from those three facilities. Not only were we able to work with them, we've already received their recommendations documents in terms of what we will prepare after the event is over is another public-facing document, mapping, if you will, action agenda. What to do now, 20 years later. Now we have all these laws and we have all these bills and we continue the advocacy and we fight to make sure that they're implemented and all these things, but we're still fighting out here. So the Clemency Project is a major success that we've just achieved, and we'll talk about that as well in a minute. All of these partners are at the table, and now this event will actually be run by the returning citizens that were part of this project and campaign 20 years ago. This event will not be panel presentations. This event will not really have talking heads around here. This event is fully facilitated by returning citizens, and that's such an amazing, magical thing. It's kind of like for me, it's like a full circle moment in my life that I've been blessed enough to live long enough to see this actually bear flowers, if you will, right? Yes, flowers above ground, we say, right? That's I can't even tell you what that does to me. But so this event is extremely unique and awkward. And what do I mean by that? I'm explaining to you that there's going to be 300-400 people there. I'm explaining to you that it's going to be facilitated by returning citizens, but they're not talking to you. They're going to introduce themselves to you. But the panels in this event is the audience. So that we're bringing returning citizens, state leaders, police officers, corrections officers, all of that together, front office, everybody together and say, because of what happened to you, explain to us in practical, structural, politically correct ways and procedural ways how we can fix it 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. So this is a conversation of the audience itself, and that we are building together the way we always should have, right? And that we are going to take the recommendations from the audience in these 2 days of work, and we're going to create a new agenda for Black and Brown communities to reduce mass incarceration here in the state of New Jersey in real, doable, structural ways. What else can I say about this? Not only is the event going to be facilitated by returning citizens, the Juvenile Justice Commission has authorized access to live feed the kids that worked on this report, because kids created this agenda in the Juvenile Justice Commission, and they're going to live feed in to the main room and observe. The Department of Corrections wasn't able to do that, but the Juvenile Justice Commission can. I will also tell you that even the report itself, the written report itself that New Jersey will see will also be narrated by a returning citizen who came out of federal prison in 2009, around there, 10. And at that time, I was a reentry case manager at La Casa Don Pedro, and he was one of my clients, this narrative author of the report coming forward. His name was Chris Etienne, and I was teaching him how to do a resume 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Now he's a professor at Princeton University. And this is the kind of full circle stuff I am trying to implore our communities to understand, that there is talent in us, there is love in us, there is skill in us. We always just needed a chance to shine. And so all of us big fancy leaders need to sit back in this particular effort and let our people shine and just show them what they're made of, because they showed me that 20 years ago. And I've been completely engrossed in this movement ever since, because of these people that you are now going to meet and watch the excellence that they bring. In fact, right now, you're going to meet someone named Myrna Diaz. Myrna Diaz is a direct result of our advocacy. She's going to say a little bit about herself, but she is one of the first releases of the Clemency Project. And she has just come out of decades of incarceration last Wednesday. It was fun for her to try to get to this link and get on this YouTube, because she doesn't know how to work it good yet.
Yeah, I bet. This is a leap. I bet this is a serious leap after being inside like that. Oh, hell yeah.
And she is one of the facilitators as well in the Working Summit on day 2. And she was also part of the Edna Mahan Women's Focus Group. So I would love for us to hear from her what she thinks about this effort, about the work that we did in Edna, and whatever else she wants to talk about, if that's who goes next. This is up to Zaid.
You know, in the language of Smoking Joe Frazier, Myrna, we won't see what you got. Come on in, baby. Start talking to her. You muted, baby. We need somebody help.
Find the microphone. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. First, I want to say thank you for having me and for inviting me to attend. And I do want to commend, and I am extremely grateful for the work that Cuqui and her team have done within Edna and other organizations, only because someone like myself is motivated now. I was blessed with clemency, and my studies within Edna Mahan was in criminal justice studies, which now gives me the opportunity to be a voice and help those, especially in the realm of education, because I think helping to better the process of education within the facility will help empower those that come out in the future and be able to continue in a productive life and not be caught too much with not having any opportunities to move forward.
Myrna, let me do this with you, all right? We had an old saying in the Nation of Islam prison ministry: don't you serve the time, you make the time serve you, right? Cuqui gave us a drop, a sample of a plethora of brothers and sisters, right, who have come home and are not just back and doing all right, but are actually in these serious positions within, you know, key institutions, making major moves and whatnot. But tell us your transformation story. We want that inspiration that you are to shine too, since we got you for this moment.
My transformation, it was very difficult. I went from being a productive citizen to being caught up in a lifestyle that was too fast for me and losing practically everything that I had gained instantaneously. I found myself at Edna with a 40-year sentence, and there was no relief with a public defender and not too many opportunities for someone like myself within a women's facility, because things and programs are very limited. I was fortunate enough to be able to start with New Jersey STEP and restart my life over while incarcerated and graduate and move forward. Being productive within the facility and doing the programs, maintaining myself busy, and just working that time to grow and enrich and become more knowledgeable in the struggle of what it is to be incarcerated was the key for me to be able to be right now here today speaking with all of you.
Mm, 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 mm. Right on, right on, right on. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. The New Jersey STEP is a program that is an education program that partners with Rutgers to help folks in inside pick up some credentials while they're doing that time. And that's what I'm talking about. And one of the angry, evil, ugly engines of mass incarceration is the limiting of those kind of opportunities. So when those of us who are in those situations, and that light turns on, that we need to grab this while it's there, and we do that, and then the light becomes something real that allows us to get from there to here. We got to lift that up. We got to lift that up. And there are a lot of stories that are coming forward and that are not just participating, as Cuqui said, right, but are actually in shaping and running this particular working summit. 20 years ago, that wasn't even possible.
Yes.
Wasn't even possible, right? So to be able to lift that up, and it's, I mean, I'm in radio, you can't get caught up in tongue ties. I got to apologize for that. But as we wind, one of the things I want to say right away is that looking forward to the summit, one of the things that we need to do is look at the streams that the summit is going to produce and have follow-up conversations. We use this platform. I'm putting that out there right away, right? So community who can appreciate what's going to come out of that summit, because we're talking about stuff that we want to put in motion immediately and down the road, right? And a political climate that is always constantly shifting. So it's ongoing. Like our struggle is protracted, right? Policy development issues around spaces like this are also very protracted. So I just want to put that out there, from the door, so we can, know what we're going to come back to in this particular platform, as the summit winds up, when after January 8th. This ain't no one-off, right?
No, not
So
by far.
once you get your microphone skills on, because we might bring your mind back. See?
You're not going there to learn stuff.
He knows I go around grabbing and putting it right in the fire.
There's two quick things I'd like to say about that.
Come on, yeah.
And the first one is that the state, as before, is very clear that they will not have a say in the narrative. That this narrative will be written in a classy, constructive way by us. So that's a big deal. The second thing that I want to say to us as advocates and activists and we save the world people is that this is a conversation and this is a work that usually you don't see turn into fruition. What do I mean by that? I never in my life expected to see these people that I work with come home. That was never in my mind. In fact, what was in my mind was that I'm literally speaking for thousands of people who don't have a voice, who are not allowed to have a voice, who are not allowed to be seen in a good light. And that's what I know. That's what I knew back then. And even though we see this tiny representation of excellence out here now, it's still that way. There's still thousands of people who don't know this fight out here because they're incarcerated. Now they're having all these problems with phone and communication and emails and technology and all this crap, frankly, so that you don't even get to speak to your loved ones sometimes, right? When we try to inform you of what our fight out here, you could get in trouble sometimes for that. You know what I mean? Now you're seen as an activist, a rebel rouser or something like that. So they don't really get the concept of how hard we fight out here. But this fight is a humbling fight because you usually don't see who you're fighting for. But that also makes it a very serious subject. That means that before you open your mouth, you better know what you're talking about, because your voice is going to affect people in either a good way or a bad way. So you really got to be careful in this particular arena of what we're saying we need and what we're saying will work. And I apologize to anybody who don't like what I'm getting ready to say, but it takes the whole village. It doesn't take one piece of us. It takes all of us. It takes all of them, because they have the power and the authority to change and whatever, but it does take all of us. And we don't talk to all of us. Our own adages, I am because we are. We is not defined and segmented. We is the village. And this is an attempt at that, and it's not going to be an easy conversation. I want us to be clear about that. It's intentionally triggering, is what it is. And I don't want Zion to tell me what happened to him when he encountered law enforcement last week or 10 years ago. I want him to tell us how could it be different? How, from Zaid's lens, could we make law enforcement work better? Practical, politically correct, doable, structural things that can be done. That's what this conversation is. So it's awkward that way. We've actually set up a section outside of the breakout rooms where here comes Cuqui, and she starts talking about what it should be, but she remembers that something happened to her loved one while he was incarcerated, and she's starting to break here. So there's a section in this event where you can go outside and take a breath. Right. There's a section out there where, okay, here comes Cuqui. I remember something happened to my loved one, and I just have to tell my story. Okay, Cuq, go on the other section over there. And we're going to have somebody with a camera for you to give yourself a minute to give your 2 or 3 minute story. So it will also be part of this history, because this is absolute quote unquote history being made on January 7th and 8th.
Yeah, and Donna just popped back in. I wanted
to
shout
Cuqui.
Hold on a second, Donna, because I want to get into this in the first way, right? I popped back in just as I wanted to lift up the fact that, one of my favorite stories in this is that when Donna was getting ready to announce her run for mayor of Orange, she introduced us to a brother named Edwin Chino Ortiz, right? And Chino has put together one of the most important vehicles for brothers and sisters coming home, that is the Returning Citizen Support Group, and has become a genuine, solid resource for a whole lot of people in our community in the process. And one of the things they do that sets them off, right, and they all kind of do together, down through the state, is and Myrna, you got you some of that sugar just recently, is when there is meet them at the gate.
Yes,
right?
that's Tone Henshaw. Mm-hmm.
That's an important embrace. Coming out of a space like that, especially if you've done a long bid, right? And get disconnected from your family and your community over the course of that bid, that's a dark, scary moment. And I know some folks who are doing, who were some bad dudes on the street once upon a time, but if they're honest, they'll tell you that, what am I coming out to?
All right. And Cuqui and Myrna, thank you guys for being here. And I did get to meet them at the gate. I think it was December 24th. Yeah, it was snowing on Christmas Eve, right? Yeah. So I think that was one I seen, and I seen that they were giving them phones. And it was nice. It was they had broadcasted it on Facebook Live, so it was really good. Great work. I just wanted to Cuqui. Y'all did a great job with the legislation, with the persons on that are on parole that they can vote now. Do we know? Are we continuing to ensure that they're educated? Is that a part of the package? Meet them at the gate. They get voter registration, because it seems like the numbers went down at this election. And I think also it was too many elections. So,
well, this is the thing.
Okay.
But there's actually a breakout on voting rights itself. It's going to be facilitated by Damian Stackhouse and I believe Damon Sharuka Venable. who is the first ever hire in a public defender's office, sits right under the public defender as a returning citizen, juvenile lifer. How do you like that one, right? Damian Stackhouse is now a licensed, I think he's a licensed social worker, and he just got hired by the Institute for Social Justice as their fellow, part-time to deal with this. Now, what happens? This whole event has to do with the chronology, if you will, and the journey of the laws that we were able to pass in these past 20 years, right? And voting rights, just to be specific, as its own breakout room in the event, is a major topic. And why is that? Because the Reverend Rountree and Brother President Ham talked about voting and all of this, and the guy there, I gotta be careful with my words, right? But what I want to say about that is that, you know, in New Jersey, 500,000 people who are registered to vote did not. That's without the voting rights law that we passed. In this country, 20 million people who are registered to vote did not. So when you take the 500,000, that's 500,000 people out of 9.5 million people in this state alone. When you take that 500,000 and you add the 83,000 plus that are now eligible to vote by the law that we fought for and passed and signed into law, which is people on probation and parole, we as advocates, and this is part of the discussion, we as advocates go to the next 50 bills that are in our face that we're trying to get turned into law. Because every single bill and every single piece of legislation that actually gets signed has been chopped up in all kinds of sections and directions. And then we as advocates don't pick up the stuff off the floor and shape it into a new bill to kind of get all of that stuff back in there. And voting rights was a perfect example. So yes, we passed a law, but who went to educate them? Did we get funding to do that? Did we do that on our own? And on our own, you know, the kind of crumbs that you get to do that is piecemeal stuff, right? That you don't have an actual campaign that's particularly targeted besides returning citizens and the grassroots groups that are out here trying to do this on the skin of their teeth there, that you can't, okay, how do I get voting to be in my top 10 priorities when I got 3 kids and 2 jobs and reported to parole? How is this important to me? What's it going to do for me? How does this affect my everyday life? I don't know that. How do I vote? I don't know that. Who am I voting for? They're all who knows what, right? We did not do that. So that's a major part of this conversation and dialogue. Not only that, but all of the laws that we passed over these 20 years and continuing to fight for will all have issues not only with leaving some of the language that we need in the bill that turns into law, but also once it gets to the department where it goes, it gets translated into regulations and policies and directives and portals and all of these things that don't actually always match the letter of the law, which sounds kind of strange, right? But it's also the other part of this. So it's not just voting rights. It's all of the laws that we passed. Because why? We've always had challenges with implementing the law properly. That's number one.
Got that right.
Number 2, I forgot number 2. I'm sorry. There's a number 2.
Well, that's a good, because I think you should come back and we talk about this more, because, and often, even if we have Cookies Corner on the 5th floor, I don't know, but it's a lot. Hi, Myrna. Happy holidays. It's a lot. It's a lot, and you have a lot to talk about, and this year is running out, and I know we push into the next set. Go ahead. Number 2 came. Go ahead.
Number 2 came right back to me. We have a nut running this country now. Let me just go on and say it. All right. All of these laws that we're fighting to implement properly are also directly in the line of fire of being reversed.
Yes.
I need to say that really, and God help us all, right? So that here we are And we've come so far, and we see how hard it is, and we have other states looking at it. How you do that black and brown stuff? It don't matter how we did it. That's not going to look like that where you are. It's a trial and error and all of that stuff. But we're fighting for our very survival, even with the laws that we passed that we know ain't always working.
Right.
It could not be a more serious time for us as communities to have this conversation, and we intentionally did it before November's election of governor here. But we already see what happened with this country's leadership. Who is our next man in line in November here?
And not lose the house.
And
yes.
I'll give it to us. We may not all like this administration, but watch what you get on the next one. Because if we went straight down half and half of those who vote, and we still have 20 million who don't care no more, and they're registered to vote, we got a problem.
Well, Cuqui, like I said, we got to get you a spot, and because we're going to talk about Maine and Vermont when you come back. But tell me, go ahead, Zaid.
No, I wanted you to ask the Myrna. This is her first time.
That's where I was getting ready to go. That's where. No, Haqq is here. Haqq asked that question.
Yeah, you ask a neutral question.
Yeah. Can't hear you, Haqq.
Myrna, Cuqui, I'm so glad that I had the chance to meet both you women tonight. Like I was in and out. I'm doing a bunch of things, multitasking. But I was like, man, what the jewels that you're dropping are so important for people to hear, because you are truly talking about grassroots politics are local, and the mechanisms of power, and how you have to build coalitions and centers of power to work the levers. But if you don't have a connection to the lever, so like your story and in the work that you're doing, like more people need to hear this, because you're talking about organizing and working the levers of power, and how we need leverage. If you don't have leverage on the lever, you can't push it. Anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I'm just so glad that I was able to be here today. Now I'm considered, Newark's hip hop ambassador. So in the spirit of being Newark's hip hop ambassador, I have to ask you, what hip hop artists currently serve as your soundtrack? So every superhero needs theme music, and you two ladies are superheroes. So what hip hop artists are providing your superhero theme music?
Soup that question up. I love that chick. Go ahead, baby.
And do you know that Cuqui was a DJ too? Sorry, Cuqui.
Cuqui was our baddest DJ.
Cuqui is a DJ.
But Myrna, go first. It's go time. Go first, Myrna.
Go ahead.
Well, first, I wanted to say two things. I had the opportunity to attend on Thursday. The meeting with Chino was the second day that I was home, and it was one of the most uplifting experiences that I have had in this time frame, only because I was surrounded with people who really showed love and who really understood where I was coming from on my first day, second day home. The second thing I wanted to mention was, as part of my exit package, I had to fill out a voter registration form. So they are working. The little bit that they're trying to do, at least it's some presence there for those that are actually coming back out. They're trying to do something to start spreading the word about voting and getting ready to vote, or being a voice within that community. So they're trying.
But the question is, who you listening to, though? How you get your head straight now that you're out, and you get ready to do your new thing. Who you listening to musically to get you straight?
Particularly hip hop artists. Or hip hop artists.
It doesn't have to be hip hop necessarily, but this is
She just got home, man. She had worked the radio on her laptop.
No, I was doing a lot of Jay-Z. I'm going to admit to that. I was listening to a lot of Jay-Z.
Move in the building.
A lot of old school stuff. A lot of Latin music, salsa.
All day, girl. All day.
Right on. Good stuff. Well, we're glad to have you. And like I said, this drum is this is a regular drum. We don't hide this drum. You know, we're not clandestine on this front. We loud and proud. You know, so we're gonna have y'all back. Cookie, who you rocking with these days, baby? I know you got a list.
Well, and you could probably recite my list, because you ask me this every time I come on up on here.
Right.
So I'm going to start with I'm a Nostradamus girl. I'm a KRS girl. I'm an AZ girl. And I'm definitely a Tupac girl. I'm going to say something that Newark might not like. Because I just did a block party at the Hip Hop Center for the Returning Citizens right now, a couple months ago. And I walked the hallways of the Hip Hop Center. And I looked at every single one of those beautiful 3D pictures. But I don't know if somebody's going to correct me right now or in the future. But Tupac is not on that wall.
They're still scared of Pop.
The Temple of Hip Hop.
I got a problem.
Yeah, we all have a problem with that.
I really want to say Tupac is on that wall, but if he is not, and I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna talk to the teacher right now.
Okay, yes.
No,
I got an issue.
we gotta have the Tupac representation, especially in Newark, New Jersey. That's a must.
Come on, man. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
No, but I'm definitely my genre is really, well, I mean, I play all music. I started out as a Latin DJ and I still am. So I saw all day, right? But I'm also a 90s. I came up in the 90s. I came up in the messages with the philosophers and all of that. And trust me when I say I could keep going on that front, but you might want to just come to one of these block parties like Zaid do.
Well, listen, you can invite Hakim Green out to Hakim. We can't hear you, muted, but you can have Hakim come out and perform. He can be the artist at your next block party.
Oh, wait a minute, because we don't have any spoken word at the summit.
I mean, when is this?
7th and the 8th of January.
We was looking for
January 7th in Mobbin.
January 7th to the 8th. I'm in Florida, but let's see what we can make happen. I'm down.
All right, Zaid, make that happen.
You know who Channel Live is. I don't have to go through you know who Channel Live is. You know who KRS-One is.
We definitely know.
No, I don't know. She got that. I don't know who Channel Live is face on right now. I don't know.
Well, she won't come back not knowing. Trust me.
Oh, no. But what I know is this is a particular kind of event. And we were looking for spoken word artists that have to be justice impacted. And anybody from our community is justice impacted. Let's just be real. But
I'm thinking I'm gonna try. Do you look at your Facebook page, Cookie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna inbox you his from his recent, because I'm thinking I was listening to your recent I'm gonna send you some of his recent stuff. I'll put it in your inbox.
The thing is,
go ahead. You got to throw it hot. Go ahead.
If pimping ain't easy, what is revolution? Rappers be spitting straight noise pollution. Here's a clean glass of water. I'll show you how to eat to live. What goes around comes around. Let me show you how to give. That's something that you hear when the 9 is at your rib in the street. Tuck your jewels, thugs drew like baby bibs. I try to be mindful, write something for the kids. Talk it like I walk it, rap it how I live. I came up blue collar, strive to be a scholar, but I couldn't eat the love and least starve without the dollar. The pressure and the stress is enough to make you holler when the landlord's at your doorstep and the devil's on your collar. They call me a slacker because I won't sell crack for the cracker. I call women queens and I love to bury blacker. Some chicks get it twisted. They'd rather be called with they in the air like everybody's supposed to kiss it. It's a simple lesson. You get what you deserve. So if life or just a pimp with a perm, seeing mommy tricked out made her little heart burn, but it's something she'll forget when it's time to take her turn. When will the children learn it's much better to earn, but when my brothers put in work, they like to make the metal burn. End up in the system, it's all systematic. Manchurian candidates, waving automatics. A product of a project launched in the 80s. Chemical warfare meant to kill the crack babies. Now as the world turns, is it just a story? Because keeping it real got my sons in purgatory.
My God, it sounds like you a cipher rapper. You flow in ciphers, don't you?
Oh, yeah, try. I mean, she's put 2 and 2 together.
Straight from the dome, right?
You know who KRS-One is, right?
Straight from the dome, right?
You know who KRS-One is.
Oh, come on.
So do you know the song, All We Do Is Spark Madism?
Mm-hmm.
You know that song. You're a DJ. You know that song, right?
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
Hakim from Channel Live. Wake up in the morning, got the yearning for herb, which loosens up the nouns, metaphors, and verbs and adjectives. Ain't it magic, kid, what I'm kicking? Multi-flavored bags and sacks for the picking. So listen to the ism as it talks nonstop. Hawaiian when I'm rhyming. No, I don't want to say no more. When she figures out what Channel Live is and Madism, is all gonna click for her because she's a DJ and real DJs know what Madism is. That's my song with KRS-One. KRS-One discovered us. Yeah.
Oh my God. God bless you, baby. But this is obviously the spoken word would have to be about the building, about the construction of our community and the construction of the determination, if you will, of mass incarceration the way it sits right now.
Okay.
You know, so it's like a building message, you know what I mean? So it's got to be really special that way. And it's way too late in the game to ask anybody for nothing to create.
We're gonna come. We're gonna have you come out to 24 hours a piece, possibly do an activation, anti-recidivism activation at 24 hours a piece, which is the logo.
That would be dope.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
every year since 2010, the organization 24 hours a piece, along with the Honorable Mayor Ras Baraka, has been using 24 hours a piece to push peace, love, unity, safely having fun. We've been doing this activation literally every year since 2010. You can ask Brother Zaid, inspired by the work of the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. It's just the way we use hip hop as it was intended.
That's big.
So yeah, when you come out to 24 hours a piece, you'll yeah.
It's in the summer, right?
Every summer since 2010. Yep. So yeah, love to have you come out to 24 hours a piece.
Love to be there.
And Cuqui, the last 24 hours piece, it was all female MCs.
Yeah, we did. So when I say 24 hours, I really mean we start from 6 p.m. on Friday and go
we can do it too.
6 p.m. on Saturday. We bring out about 20,000 people during the course of the weekend, Friday to Saturday, throughout the 24 hours. All types of anti-violence activations.
Oh man,
wellness activations.
That's beautiful stuff, man. Wow, God bless you.
Everybody from Queen Latifah, KRS-One, Fat Joe, Talib Kweli, like all the legends have been, and the newer artists come out to 24 hours a piece. It is amazing, and we will be honored to have you do some sort of activation around your work.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. My God. I don't even know what to say. And just bring the message here of what the Working Summit is creating. Right?
Yeah.
Talk about anti-violence.
We're
not just talking about the cell. We're talking about the family too. Yeah. Don't start over there. That's the back door.
Exactly.
Oh God. Thank you so much. You see that, Myrna? It's family business.
I see. Very nice.
If I may, if you're in Florida, Hakim, we're going to be live feeding the big room where the keynote speech will be on day 1 and day 2 of the event. So we're setting up that technology right now, because as I mentioned to you earlier, the juvenile justice kids who worked on the report, they're going to live feed in to observe, and that's the first time that ever happened. Wow, so you might be able to get on that link. The way we're going to live feed it would be in our Facebook group, the Integrated Justice Alliance. That's my Facebook group, very Jersey focused, but that's where you'll see all of the promotional videos as well of this event. But I keep us with real news on criminal justice here in New Jersey. And you would be able to see it there. There's a couple of Facebook groups that I manage, to say the least. But you will be able to see the keynote speeches there, and you'll see, you won't be able to see the breakouts, but we will be recording in the breakouts. We have a wonderful team of volunteers from Rutgers, a video class that they're bringing their whole class to just video each breakout room. So we're literally going to have a video kind of documentary style project in the end that will also be available for the public. So Zaid, could you put the Integrated Justice Alliance in the comments for the public somehow? And it's a Facebook group. It's free. I run it. You can't sell carpets there, but because I'm going to push through all of the stuff. But if you got something criminal justice related, it goes there. And there's over 2,000 people there. They're not like, just IT people. They're us.
Nice. And that's January 7th and 8th, and down in Monmouth.
Yes, ma'am. Monmouth University, 400 Cedar Avenue, Monmouth University.
Okay. Well, thank you, Myrna. Thank you. Keep listening over. All right.
All right. Is that it for me? Are we good?
Yeah. Yes, Feliz Años. Happy New Year. See you soon.
Have a good night and thank you.
You too. Bye.
Good stuff, y'all. Good stuff. And we got
hip hop in 2020. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Haqq. I'm sorry, Zaid.
Hip hop year in review, and then we're glad to have Timur Davis back with us. He just did I'm gonna call it a DMX fest in DMX's hometown a minute ago. Right? Welcome back, Timur. In the few minutes we got left, we need to hear from y'all. What do y'all think were the most important highlights in the land of hip hop that was 2024?
All right, rap music.
How much time do we have?
We ain't got a lot of time.
Timur, you talk. Let us watch the clock. We got you. You and Hakim talk. We got the clock.
You can go first.
I have something that I want to say, and I wrote it down. So, do you want me to talk about the DMX program, or what I have written down?
What you wanted to share out, what that you wrote down.
All right, great, thanks. As 2024 closes, hip hop has continued to evolve and expand its influences across music, culture, and global boundaries, from the dominance of established icons to raise the exciting new voices. Here's a breakdown. Key themes in 2024. Generational shift. The torch is being passed between the elder statesmen and a new wave of talent. Veterans like Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and J. Cole have remained relevant, but artists like Lil Baby, Travis Scott, and emerging stars such as Ice Spice, Playboy Carti, and Ken Carson are shaping the genre's future. Experimental sounds and genre fusion. Hip-hop has always embraced innovation, and in 2024, genres continue to blend, from the rise of hyper-pop influenced rap, thanks to artists like Lil Uzi, Playboy Carti, to increase the use of live instrumentation and rock-infused rap. Boundaries and continually are pushed. Global hip-hop internationally. Hip-hop has gone global. Artists like Van Bunny in Puerto Rico, Central C in UK, and growing prominence of African hip-hop artists have contributed to more interconnected global scene. The genre's influence extends beyond music, shaping fashion, politics, and even social justice movements worldwide. Social consciousness and activism. Political and social issues continue to inform hip-hop's narrative. Artists use their platforms to comment on systematic racism, mental health, climate change, and inequity. The activism of rappers like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and other ongoing success of politically driven rap movements continue to resonate. Albums in 2004: Kendrick Lamar, The Eternal Summer; Travis Scott, Utopia; Ice Spice, Spice World; Little Baby, album entitled Champion. Fashion and visual trends. Hip hop's influence of fashion remains undeniable in 2024. The streetwear brands like Supreme, Off-White, and new collaborations shaping trends. The hyper popularization of brands like Gucci and what have you are brands that are out there and prominent. Digital streaming in the digital era. Platforms like Spotify, Apple Music continue to shape how hip hop is consumed. TikTok and YouTube have also become key tools for artists to break through and gain visibility, especially for younger and more experimental talents. Mental health in hip hop. The ongoing conversations around mental health are still pivotal in hip hop, with many artists open up about struggles with anxiety, depression, addiction. The culture continues to shift toward self-care and mental mindfulness. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. How can
You want?
you first responder?
So yeah, well, there's a few things that I noticed over the last year. I think the division that's happening in the culture is unfortunate, unnecessary, unneeded. There's some hard conversations that are being had right now. Fat Joe, Lord Jamar, Tariq Nasheed, the origins of hip hop and who created what, and it's just too much conversation. I think that's eventually going to lead to bickering if we don't get a handle on it. That's something that happened this past year that was unfortunate. Of course, all of the controversy surrounding Puff and Jay and the like. Another unfortunate side of the quote unquote culture, although we know that's rap music, which is different from hip hop culture. We've seen hip hop culture expand. Olympics, breakdancing was in the Olympics this past year. That was huge. Although they had the girl from Australia who kind of, embarrassed herself to the real people who understand. But breakdancing itself being a part of the Olympics and getting as much attention as it got internationally, I thought was really, really, really huge. In terms of the tech side, Spotify and Apple and these streaming platforms having a grip on the culture and the way we consume music, I think is going to shift in 2025. I think Glorilla dropping her latest project on her website and you direct to consumer is the way to go. I think more artists are going to catch on to that, create their platforms, their own websites, and then sell their content through those platforms. So I think we could be seeing the end of Spotify as we know it. It could shift into something else. I heard talk of it possibly, being a radio station, just as in terms of how we consume music, but commerce-wise, I think that it's time for artists to start their own platforms, create their own space in the digital world, and have people go directly to them. I think we've seen hip hop, in some instances, open people's minds up to new ideas, new consciousness, politics. But in other ways, hip hop has not really done its job in correctly disseminating information. I think someone spoke on that earlier, how we get information out, who's saying what, who's qualified to say what types of information should you suggest. I think hip hop is not really doing its job in leading the people in that sense. So those are some of the things that I picked up on briefly about 2024 and what I expect to see in 2025. Of course, 24 Hours Apiece happens every summer. So 24 Hours Apiece is definitely a good look in 2024 with an all-female lineup like Baba Zaid said earlier. So some more highlights for the 2024.
Loaded.
And back to Tamora, you just had a big celebration around DMX's birthday just passed, and you wanted to say something about the celebration for DMX?
Yeah, the celebration of with DMX is we had nearly 400 people inside the library. We had an exhibit to showcase like large photos of him throughout the library. We also had a very intense discussion from people like Darren Dean and people from Rough Riders that talked about hip hop in terms of cultural substance and the impact of DMX. When despite anything that he was going through, he still stayed true to making sure that he served the public and gave great information to move them forward politically, socially, mentally, and what have you. I think DMX is probably one of the best examples of dealing with issues and then actually being transparent about those issues and making sure that not only he finds solutions to problems, but also the public finds solutions to issues that we all collectively deal with, not just in urban America, just in general. A family came out. I was able to meet his mother. I was able to meet his uncles. It was well deserved. It was a great program for the public to come out and view. There's some good food, has some good great conversations. News 12 had covered the event, and some other noted media outlets had actually came to the library to talk about the event. It was no ceremony in terms of performance, but it was great in terms of the panel discussion that was had at the library.
Okay, and if we had to ask, what was the two Haqq and Tamor, what would you say was the hottest hip hop song in 2024, if you could, in your opinion?
Not like us.
Well,
You're not answering that, okay?
I think I would say that, in my opinion, Kendrick Lamar's song,
right,
where he responded to Drake, in my opinion, was the hottest song. That's in my opinion. I mean, it was nicely done, and it's something that
that's the fact
in the song was needed to be said.
Brother Timor, that's not an opinion. That's the actual fact. Hands down, Kendrick had the hottest song of the year, period, point blank, maybe of all time, actually.
Of all time, wow.
That song it resonates with the whole entire planet. So, and he was brave enough and had enough courage to lay it out like that. And sometimes when you tell somebody something, you can't sugarcoat it. You have to come straight, and that's what he did. He came as straight as possible. And I would tell, and not just him himself, but when you have leaders, not just here, but all over the world, talking about he raised the bar in terms of hip hop, and let people know, like, if you're gonna do this, you can't play with it. You can't play with it.
The way
you got to come correct.
The way he did it, the strategy behind it, the rollout, the mark, like he baited Drake. He put something out there that it was like the big three, but he was really talking about the one. Took the bait, and then he just had this whole other follow-up already planned, like, I got you, son. And
like he pulling out the albums, yeah.
Nothing like that.
And he was able to, even when you talk about the contextual and the subtextual and the allegorical things that he was saying, and then the real just making it plain. So it was just so many different levels of that one song. It wasn't just the song, you know. And then what happens is other people that's considering, you got to sit back and think. This is a thinking game.
J. Cole, who I love, I prefer J. Cole over all of them. He was like, nah, I'm going to go over here in the corner and just chill out for a second. I'm not going to get that beef. I don't want that smoke.
And sometimes, I mean, because it's an ongoing cultural war, right? It's an ongoing cultural war in terms of the music and economics and the arts and so on and so forth. That's the reality. And so somebody have to sit up and say, this is our shit. Excuse my language, but this is our stuff, you know, and this is what we do. And this is how you do it right.
Not like us. And then get down with, my middle name is Aubrey. my last album is called Aubrey. You know, light skin children. But y'all know my politics. And y'all know the bubblegum, commercial, soft, superficial, hustler, gangster, all that crap. Yeah, I ain't really with that. So to have somebody,
some people may argue that of the social engineers.
I've been told for the last 20 years that a Kendrick Lamar could never happen.
Yeah,
like this dude is existing in a space that no other conscious, quote unquote, radical politics, revolutionary messaging, like Kendrick goes in through his whole career. He's not supposed to be the guy. He's the guy.
Well, hold that thought as we close out, because our time has come, and we will be talking as we're leading up to the Super Bowl all about Kendrick Lamar, and perhaps we can go back and talk about the halftime Christmas game, Cowboy Carter, one day. But okay. But with that being said, we have our technical person in the room who has come in to let us know that our time has come. So before Rafisa speaks, Tamor and Hakim, do you have any last words?
Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Merry Christmas, Happy
New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Abaragani, and Kendrick is a man.
Okay. There we go. With that, the mic goes to Rafisa. You want to have the last word, Rafisa?
I'll just it's either one.
Whatever you decide.
So on behalf of Ed Riley and Jonathan Alston, we thank tonight's guests. Some great conversations and useful information.
Got it.
As we conclude tonight's show, a few reminders to attend our Newark Board of Education holiday tournament. Come out and see our children. Also, Newark Winter Village happening in the heart of downtown. Some wonderful activities include ice skating, go-karts, and igloos. And lastly, I would like to wish everyone a happy and healthy new year. Thank you all for spending your evening with us. We will see you again next Friday, January 3rd, on All Politics Are Local, America's number one political hip hop.
Don't cut us down yet. Just like my last word. I just want to say happy birthday to our executive producer, happy belated Ed Riley, and to everyone have a happy new year.
That's right. There you go. All right, y'all.
Zaid.
You don't stop.
Peace, y'all.
Thank you. So on you, Rafisa.